he's like his son. He's his favourite player. He plays every game. He's the last one to come off. He loves Morgan Rogers. You know, he brought him for £12 million from Middlesbrough, took a gamble on him, and I agree, £100 million.
It's now frustrating, isn't it? Because if you sell Morgan Rogers, you're sort of almost admitting that you're never really going to bridge that gap.
Financial fair play rules. I'll tell you something now, 100%. These owners want to win it all.
Yeah.
They've said that. The manager says he wants to dream. That's what I'm saying. He'll be so frustrated if he has to sell Rodgers because of financial fair play. If these rules were fair and you didn't have to sell a player to sort out the debt that you might have, then there's no way they would sell Rodgers. Why would you?
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy, and we're live on talkSPORT. So Manchester City sweep Chelsea aside to move 6 points behind leaders Arsenal with a game in hand. Has this got a familiar feeling of City reeling in their prey? Meanwhile, was it really new manager? Same old Tottenham. Also today, was Anthony Joshua unsuccessfully bounced into a Fury fight? Why do Newcastle keep donating points? Are Hearts much more than lucky Hearts? And after securing back-to-back Masters, is McIlroy a true golfing GOAT? Jim White, Simon Jordan, Danny Murphy, and we're live in talkSPORT.
100% engagement.
Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
So there I was sitting at Wembley yesterday, of course, the Virtue Trophy, Luton beating Stockport on the day. And in view of the fact that Arsenal had lost the day before, I cannot tell you how many people came over to me and said, Martin Keown with you tomorrow, Martin Keown on the show tomorrow. And I walk in this morning, Simon, to the news. It's Danny Murphy, who's risen to the challenge because Keown has family matters to attend to. And Emmanuel Petit, World Cup winner, had a problem with the Eurostar.
All right.
So even although he's not feeling 100%, and I can vouch for that because I've seen the medicine he's been taking this morning, Mr. Murphy to the rescue this morning. Danny, good morning.
I knew I'd have a haven of sympathy in this room. Do you know what? Anytime I'm unwell and I'm coming into work and working with Simon, I always think, keep it to yourself.
Yes.
I know what's going to happen.
Don't tell him. I'm not quite 100%. How was Spain?
Nice. Very good.
Did you get soaked? Was everything all right?
No, thunder and lightning for one night. But no, it was nice. No, my little boy was having a lovely time.
Good man. Good old Ruben. Good for him. I take it you tuned into Tyson Fury.
Oh, you mean the glorified sparring sessions that Conor Benn and Tyson Fury participated in?
Was a bit, wasn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
I
disappointed.
thought Conor Ben's was a half-decent fight, to be
Did you? Looked like a sparring session to me.
You think?
Yeah.
I felt that, I must admit. And was Joshua ever going to say, yes, I'm right with you, I'll be there?
No,
when he was challenged to the fight.
I mean, interesting how he described himself as a landlord. I mean, I don't quite know how he described himself that way. Didn't he just get ironed out by Daniel Dubois? Wasn't that the last major fight besides the Jake Paul fiasco that he's been in? It's all a bit, wasn't it? It was all a bit nonsense and silly, but it's theatrics, isn't it? That's what sells fights, and Tyson Fury yelling and bawling.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it sells. That's what people want. 62,000 to watch some of that last weekend.
So what's going on in the Premier League? Actually, at Wembley yesterday, I met another Martin in a coffee shop. Good morning to you, Martin. I said I'd give you a mention. This fella's a Manchester United fan, so disillusioned with Premier League football, according to him, that he now regularly goes up to Edinburgh and watches Hearts and is cheering them on and has been doing that all season.
Disillusioned with life.
Well, he's up there. No, but hang on. It's a great title race up there, is it not?
Oh, shut up.
What do you mean,
It's
shut up?
okay, but let's not get too carried away with it. It's just because it's so pedestrian in previous years that we're going to amp it up, and it's not because of anything to do with
Nonsense.
Glasgow teams. It's because of Hearts.
We did
The
show
only
our-
reason we're interested is because of Hearts.
Oh,
Other
really?
than that, no one's interested.
What, Rangers were trailing by 2 to Falkirk yesterday and win it 6-3?
Nobody would care if it wasn't about Hearts trying to win this league.
Martin cares.
Nobody would care.
And Martin...
we shared our excitement last week, falsely, but we did it for one show. To expect us to do it for
tank is
two,
empty.
the tank is well
You
into
can say all you want. In terms of people who are following it up there,
it'd be good for
It's got
Hearts.
everything at the moment, Danny. It's a terrific title race. Martin O'Neill and Celtic winning. Hearts winning, they beat Motherwell, and Rangers had to win and did, but they were 2 down. Are you kidding me? And came back to win 6-3 anyway. So I get home to see the second half of Chelsea and Manchester City, and Manchester City swept Chelsea aside by 3-0. Danny, very interesting from you this morning. We're sitting through there in the office, and you were telling me what a rocket Guardiola must have given them at half.
Well, I don't know he did, but if you ever watch a game that's two extremes, it's that. I mean, first half they played like it was a bit of a testimonial. There was no energy, intensity. It was bizarre, especially from a side who trying to win the league. And obviously Pep was fuming because the difference second half with the speed they played, the commitment they went forward with, the risks they took, it was just chalk and cheese. And that had to be down to him. Had to be. Loves to have been a fly on the wall. Second half, they absolutely battered Chelsea.
Yeah.
They steamrolled them and just played too quickly for them, too cute, too clever. It was a worrying performance that second half from Chelsea. I mean, City are a good side, don't get me wrong, and they can do that to anyone. They walked over Liverpool recently.
Yes, yeah.
But Chelsea at home, they were in the game first half. Second half, they just got brushed aside and couldn't do anything.
Just on Chelsea, I got a message a moment ago. Chelsea, 2nd of November, owners and manager have set fire to the place since then. No identity as a team, incredibly ineffective subs. Halftime interview, what was that about? Well, that would be contractual, wouldn't it? But nothing but meaningless jargon in interviews. Moments, outstanding, top, project. I know where he's going with that. Having said that, the day before, Arsenal lost at home to Bournemouth. And now Manchester City can go level in points with Arsenal if they win their game in hand and beat the Gunners at their head-to-head next Sunday. So what are we seeing at the moment? What did City give us yesterday at Stamford Bridge? This was Pep post-match, playing it down a bit somewhat.
Well, we've done a good 3 games, but the best team in England so far is Arsenal. The best team in Europe so far is Arsenal because the numbers are there, the consistency they had. But yeah, we have the definitive match ball next Sunday and prepare well this week. What suggests they will adjust comparing the final, the Carabao Cup, and what we have to do with our people to try to perform well, because it's what defines the teams, it's how you play.
Simon, we've been here before, have we not? Has this got a familiar feeling of Manchester City reeling in their prey? Are they right? They're smelling blood.
I don't think Man City are reeling them in. I think Arsenal are trying to navigate their way through a situation, and they're not imposing themselves in games. Whatever the motivation of it is, whatever the reasons behind it, Man City are just doing their job. You know, that's their job, is to win football matches, and Arsenal's job is to navigate their way through however they see fit. But they're seemingly doing it in a fashion which is creating more problems than it's providing solutions for themselves. I don't know whether it stems from the cup final team that put Kepa in goal and creates a downsize in the mentality of the side, and it starts to build from there, or there is a general feeling amongst the managerial setup that they want to manage games through. But Bournemouth are not mugs. Bournemouth are a good side, but you would expect Arsenal not to have lost that game, and you would expect Arsenal not to have performed the way they did in that game. But you look at it and say, I think everything turns on the weekend. I don't think that I still think Arsenal will win the league. There's still a part of me, and maybe it's because I tip things and it always goes wrong, and probably Arsenal fans are thinking, Christ's sake, don't tip us. I still think Arsenal will win the league. I still think Arsenal have performances in them in big games, like we saw last week when they went out to Sporting and got criticised for the manner in which they played. Yeah. They still got a result.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure.
No, I'm not 100% convinced anymore.
Yeah.
But there's a.
Are you, Danny?
I think if you go on the weekend's games, you'd make City favourites because there's a strut about them and a confidence and a zip about them.
Swagger.
But Arsenal have showed many times after disappointment that they can bounce back and produce performances, and they only need to avoid defeat to keep it within their own hands next week. I say only. It's a big ask, but they are, on their day, brilliant defensively. I think Timber's been a big miss for them. The one thing on Saturday that worried me about the performance was the nervousness that spread throughout the team. There was only really Rice who maintained his level and looked comfortable. The rest, Zubamendi, brilliant technician, giving the ball away with no pressure on him. The goalkeeper, who's been phenomenal all season, caught in two minds with his passing out. I mean, Bournemouth were exceptional. It was a hell of a performance. Let's not take away from them. They went after Arsenal because they smelt it.
Yeah.
I think they thought, because normally when you go and press a good team, they play through you, and you then drop off because the fear kicks in. It's like, you know, you're running around like headless chickens, and they're just too good. But they just kept winning it back.
I want to ask you something. Why would Arsenal be seemingly paralysed by fear?
Well, I think it's a lot of players who've not been there before, which is understandable. But ultimately, it's down
to... A lot of them have been here before.
They have not got over the line, though, have they?
They've been in this situation before, though. I know they haven't got over the line, but they're well practiced.
But the doubts kick in, don't they, still?
Do you recognise that characterisation? You've been an elite footballer. You've been amongst elite footballers that are trying to achieve things. Do you characterise Arsenal as being paralysed by fear?
I think that's I think that's probably too much, but I think too many of them are overthinking and playing too safe. The performance was so negative. It was like, take a risk, be free. If you fail, you fail. When you watch Cherki play at Man City, he just doesn't, if he fails, he doesn't care about failing. Yeah. He takes risks. Yeah. He's got confidence in himself. It's like the Arsenal players. It's been drained a little bit over the last few weeks. The manager has a responsibility to a degree, but I was very lucky at Liverpool. I mean, we only going for a title 1 year, and we did fail. We finished second, but when we got over the line in the cups and stuff, we had some really, like, I remember feeling nervous in games where you overthink every pass and you're giving it away. And people like Gary Mack, Didier Man, I've talked about them before, but they calm you down. They just settle you. And then Michael or Stevie would produce some magic and just play free, you know. And you need one or two stars in the team who can get you over the line. Yeah. In games like the Bournemouth one. Yeah. And when Arsenal were chasing the game, there was no one really. Eza did a bit when he come on. He looked like he was going to, right, give it to me. He started making stuff happen, to be fair to him. Yeah. Gyökeres, I'm not sure. he can't hold the ball up. He can't produce something on his own. He has to rely on the service. The wide boys aren't really at it. Madueke and Martinelli. Trossard was negative coming back. I don't know. I don't know how much of it comes from the manager, because ultimately, if the manager says to you, go and be free, play, make mistakes, then I don't see him giving that message. So we'll have to wait and see.
The chat at Wembley yesterday was that Arsenal are just far too pragmatic. You know, Arteta's too pragmatic. That was a word that kept on coming through. I was talking to Andy Cole yesterday at Wembley. I'm going to put it out there this morning. Who are Arsenal's biggest opponents in this title race? Manchester City or themselves? And Arsenal fans, you've seen the script before. You've read the script before. But where's it going? Can you really be confident that this run-in is going to end up in your favour? 03717 22 33 44 at 10:15 this Monday morning.
How does he go about saving Spurs? Because we were talking about this on the Premier League All Access podcast. He's a pure football man. He wants to play a certain way, but the time it takes to get that injected into the players' veins is not long enough for the time that he's had in terms of being on the training ground. So does he have to be a little bit more simple in his approach? Does he have to work with the resources he's got?
Yeah.
And what are those?
What has he had? He's probably had nearly 10 days maybe before the game kicks off. He can't have that hard approach, I don't think, at this stage. That's got to be something in the summer, and you work out who's with you, who's not. At the moment, he's got to work out what formation he's going to play, who's going to be his best players. And you look at the midfielders available, rim down, Sam, like Bergvall, Gallagher, Paulinho, Sarr, Gray. Out of those centre midfielders, who do you choose out of them?
Well, it's great to have Bergvall back for a start, and it's great to have a choice, because one of the problems they've had over the season is they haven't been able to have a choice because there's been so many injuries.
But even going forward, Tell, Simmons.
Kudos has picked up a setback, hasn't he?
Exactly. Mwani, Solanke, Richarlison. He's got to work out which of these players is going to get the goals that they need. Van der Ven, second top goal scorer. Richarlison's got 9. Then Van der Ven and Romero have got 4. And I think Tell's got 3. It's not good enough. It's really not good enough. Someone's got to step up in that team.
It's been an act of self-harm, hasn't it, over the course of the season from Tottenham Hotspur, going back to not getting the recruitment right in the summer, appointing the wrong managers at the wrong time, and ranking bottom for errors leading to goals in the Premier League this season.
Monday, April the 13th, Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy this Monday morning. We're live on talkSPORT, live on your TV as well. Arsenal came up short at home to Bournemouth, who were great. Bournemouth were great at the weekend. Are they going to come up short in this title race? Is it going to go to Manchester City at the end of it all? And if it does, how blameless is a manager for players' mindsets? Does belief come from the coach or come from within? Anyway, Arsenal lost it. This was Arteta.
Well, extremely disappointing. It's a big punch on the face. That's what I said to the boys. And now it's about how we react to that. Because the game on is going to require now a big spirit, a lot of fight, and very clear how we're going to approach that. There's no great areas. We are in, we are out, and we need to be very, very, very strong and determined to approach it in a different way that we done today, especially when the game wasn't going our way.
Danny, fragility, a mindset fragility. Is it impossible for a manager like Arteta to avert that from a player's personality at this particular moment?
No. Yeah, you can't do it completely. The manager can't do it all on its own, but he can give you a real comfortable platform with his words and with the team plan and with the everything you do leading up gives you that freedom. So we used to have a structure under Julio, but he'd always say to the front boys, do what you want, play free. Like if you want to swap position, if you want to go, do what you want to do. And we had a group, we had brilliant forward players, to be fair, who played free. But we had good structure behind it. Doesn't look like the Arsenal players are playing free, but some of that has to go on their shoulders because as an individual, when you cross the line, you decide how I'm going to impact the game. And if you're not impacting the game, you take responsibility to go and find the ball and impact it. Now, you could argue, yeah, if you're on the left wing and he wants you to stay in that position and you go wandering towards the centre or the right wing, he's going to go mental. Okay, he might do. I don't know the intricacies of how Arteta works.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like a team that's playing free. And if you watch just the simple things like players taking too long on the ball, going backwards or sideways when there is a better pass on, that's just a mindset thing from that player who's got to be braver. But the manager can help it. He can help it a lot. So I think there's blame on both sides. Ultimately, it's about quality. The best players have the quality in the big moments to get over the line, don't they? I always think of United teams I played against from Fergie. They were just relentless. You know, late in the games. They'd just be throwing men forward and passing and like doing things that you can't cope with.
Do you think Arteta's too pragmatic, Simon? Is this going to be the difference as to who ends up winning it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he says to the players in the dressing room, but clearly I do think the coach's responsibility is if he's not actually kicking a ball, it's his responsibility to set the players up mentally and structurally to be able to do it in a fashion that produces the best outcome. And I use the word navigate at the beginning of this section because that's what I think Arsenal are trying to do. They're trying to navigate their way through games, not impose themselves on games, not take control of the game, not to be bold, not to be fearsome, fearless. Sorry, in their and their reaction to circumstances. Now, when they went away to Sporting, it was the perfect time to not be to be bold because they were trying to manage a European game, and they got praise from me last week, and people criticised them because it was considered to be a workmanlike performance. But a 1-0 away result in a European game is a good result. Now they'll bounce back tomorrow or Wednesday, whenever they're playing against Sporting, and produce an outcome again. I think everything will be revealed on Sunday when they play Manchester City.
The question is, they'll be bold then when they play City.
Oh no, they won't be daft. No. They'll do what they normally do. The question is, if Arsenal were 3 or 6 points behind City when they played Bournemouth at home at the weekend, what would they have done different? They would have committed. They'd have played quicker, more urgency. They would have got more men forward earlier in the game. They would have gone after them.
Feels like Arsenal have something to lose rather than something to win.
Well, it's a bit like Rory with a six-shot lead, wasn't it?
Yes.
That dwindled on day 3.
Yeah. So that begs the question then, who are Arsenal's biggest opponents in this title race? Manchester City or themselves? John is a big Manchester City fan. John, good morning. How do you see this working out?
Morning, gents.
Morning.
How do I see it working out? I think Arsenal are their own worst enemies here.
Yeah.
But that said, there's an argument for and against that. However, Pep now has bitten down on his gum shield. He swallowed a bit of pride. He's let the maverick, Cherky, weave his magic. Unbelievable player, boys. He doesn't play anywhere. Give him the ball. Let him cause damage. So he's the least Guardiola-type player I've ever seen in a City shirt because He is. He doesn't play in a pattern. He doesn't play in... Right, you go on the underlap while he goes on the overlap. Well, he doesn't do any of that.
Yeah.
Give him a ball. He'll cause you damage.
You're going to win it, John. City going to win it.
Well, all I'm saying, right, this is the point I'm coming to next. I just want the referee to be impartial and stop WWF in the box. If he stops WWF in the box, Manchester City will absolutely take him to the cleaners at the Etihad on Sunday.
Okay.
But the referee must be strong. You take Arsenal's goals, and fair play to Arsenal, because the referee has to stop them. Now, the thing is, they'd be in about sixth position if the goals from set plays, from corner kicks, from wrestling.
Yeah.
The example I'm going to give you here, gentlemen, is when we played Newcastle in the semi-finals of the Cup, the Carabao Cup at Newcastle. They did everything in the power to give the offside against Erling Haaland, interfering with play, fouling this, doing that. He did nothing of the sort. And I came on the early morning programme, and I said, if that's the tariff, if that's the bar, fine. Following day, Gyökeres fouled the keeper, put the ball in the back of the net, the goal stands. I just want parity, and I just want a level playing field.
It's a good call. John, thank you for that. It's a good call. It was a matter of time. Here's Keith, big Arsenal fan. Keith, good morning. Who are Arsenal's biggest opponents then? City or themselves?
I think it's a bit of both. City have got momentum. I'll give you a tennis analogy. The wonderful thing about that game is about momentum and how the momentum tends to sway back and forth during a match. And when a player's got momentum, they've got the confidence. And it's all about taking that confidence, harnessing it, and keep going. And for some reason, City seem to have that manager to be able to harness that momentum. Unfortunately, if you look at Arteta's managerial stats in April, he's got an awful record, something like 40% wins across his managerial tenure at Arsenal. But I said to your receptionist, I've not been confident with the Arsenal front line all season. I just think that is our weakness. I think regardless of whether we win the league or win the Champions League, and I actually think we deserve to win the Champions League, actually, considering what we've done in that competition this season. But I think that whatever happens, they need to rip up that front line and start again. It just doesn't click. It doesn't work. They're not producing enough. They haven't done all season, hence why we've had a lot of goals from set pieces. That's not working for us now, the set piece goals. It's just the front line. It just doesn't work, doesn't click. And that's, I think, my issue. Having said that, we talk about momentum. If, and it's a big if Arsenal get a victory at Etihad, I can't see it, but if they did, all gloves are off, and I think then you may see a different story. But unfortunately, 3 out of 4, you know, they say winning's a habit. Well, losing seems to be a bit of a habit as well, doesn't it?
Keith, good call as always. Thanks for joining us. We'll take more of your calls. So many of you trying to get on. We'll take a few more calls at the other side of 10:30. But the question's out there this morning. Who are Arsenal's biggest opponents in this title race? Manchester City or themselves? We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
Managers can be petulant, players can be petulant, just like owners can be.
De Zerbi was. I mean, you know, you can say De Zerbi, and he's walked into the Tottenham job. You know, like.
Would you take him at Chelsea?
Right here, right now.
Why are you hesitating?
Well, because that's just it's a rhetorical question.
I know, but
would you take my Spurs?
Yeah, I would have, but we got De Zerbi.
I know, but you're facing relegation.
You got Rossini as the manager.
That's not the question.
Okay, the question is, would you take him at Chelsea?
No.
Why?
Well, that have to give you a reason, right? No.
What do you mean? I want a reason.
Because he's petulant.
No, that's not a reason.
Well, it is.
You've had loads of petulant managers.
I know, but
You've had hundreds of them.
They get sacked.
Okay, but that's absolute garbage. Don't tell me you wouldn't take Glasner over Rossini.
No, I wouldn't.
Oh, mate.
No.
What are you on about?
You're throwing your pen down.
What are you on about?
You're like a petulant
No,
child.
I know, but you're just an idiot. Like, I know you've got like a little Chelsea gig. I know you've got your little Chelsea gig going on over there.
I don't get my own way.
No,
so I'm throwing my pen down.
No,
How
mate,
childish are you?
No, that is absolute guff.
Throw that.
No, it's absolute guff. You're talking absolute garbage. Don't talk garbage. Glasner is a million times better manager than Rossini.
Okay.
Don't sit here and say you wouldn't have him at Chelsea.
No, not having at Chelsea.
Oh,
he's too petulant.
Oh,
no, he wouldn't. Can you imagine him? Can you imagine him with the owners? He's just thrown out with Steve Parish. What's going to go on with Todd Bowley? Him and Todd Bowley.
You're an absolute nugget.
No,
well,
if you don't like the question, don't ask.
Stupid pills.
Don't ask the. If you don't like the answer, don't ask the question.
Over the last few years, Formula One has gone from elitist and insular to a global entertainment brand. The transformation's down to American investment group Liberty Media, who cultivated a new image for the sport since buying it in 2016. Better access to drivers, improved content on social media, and tapping into the US market have given F1 a massive boost in both attention and revenues. But is everyone happy? The fans certainly are, as evidenced by Drive to Survive. Almost 7 million people per season have tuned in to get all the gossip and all the drama from the paddock. The extra exposure means the drivers can demand a higher salary too. In 2010, the top drivers were earning $20 million a year, which isn't bad. But now, the very best earn 3 times that, with Max Verstappen getting a whopping $65 million in 2025. But money doesn't always buy happiness. Some drivers, including Verstappen, don't like the pageantry the changes have brought about. In Las Vegas in 2023, Verstappen said the drivers were made to look like clowns, and the event was 99% performance and 1% race. Some purists who still watch the sport feel the same, and that the spirit of competition has suffered. But Formula One and Liberty Media don't look like slowing down anytime soon. So expect more races, major events and exclusive access in future.
What did we see over the weekend? We saw plenty. We saw a new manager in at Tottenham Hotspur, Roberto De Zerbi. But nonetheless, is it still the same old Tottenham? Are they destined for the Championship? Could well be, judging from where they sit this morning in the Premier League. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy. We're live on talkSPORT this Monday morning, April the 13th, flying through the month of April. And of course, some big Champions League action this week. We'll know an awful lot more come midweek, whether or not Arsenal progress in that Champions League up against Sporting Lisbon, who won at the weekend at Estrela. They're second in the Portuguese league now, behind Porto. But in the meantime, so many of you trying to get to air with us this morning. I'm delighted about that. We're going to hear from a couple more of you at this particular stage in the proceedings. Manchester City do a job on Chelsea yesterday at Stamford Bridge. The day before, Bournemouth did a job on Arsenal. Who are Arsenal's biggest opponents in this title race? Manchester City or themselves? Josh, good morning, big City fan. How do you see it now, mate?
Morning, boys.
Morning.
How are you doing?
Good. Judging by the tone of your voice, you're good.
Yeah, it's been a beautiful weekend. The sun's shining this morning in Manchester, which is brilliant. But yeah, I feel like I've been saying since January, I think City are going to win the league. I think it just comes down to experience. You see the fans in the stadium at Arsenal on Saturday, and they're just all panicking. The energy's feeding onto the pitch. Like, all the Arsenal fans I know are essentially giving up already. It's just brilliant to watch.
Goodness me. Andy's an Arsenal fan. Thanks to you, Josh. Andy, Arsenal fan, have you given up already?
Morning, Jim. Morning, boys.
Morning.
I walked out of the stadium on Saturday, and I'm an old school. and I said to your researcher that I think this goes back a long way. It goes back to Arsene Wenger the last 11 years. We're cowardly. We've got nobody in the midfield. We've got a lovely bunch of players that are all on their own lovely. No Patrick Vieira. Nobody to stamp their foot. No, Patrick Vieira would have been the ideal person on Saturday because he would have got in amongst them. Declan Rice, amazing player. Amazing player. You can't knock him. Zubimendi, great technical player. But every time we tackle somebody, they're picking them up. Are you okay? Are you all right? We need somebody, Simon will probably tell you this in business, you need somebody that can hardball, that can go in and say, that's not working. What are you boys doing? They were all popping Zubimendi out on the pitch on Saturday because he was giving the ball away, to be fair. But this goes back to the Wenger days of turning us into a weak, cowardly club. And sadly, we're going to go up there Saturday. I'll be up there Sunday. I think it'll be 5-0. I've got this horrible feeling that they're going to tear us apart. I don't know what Danny thinks about. He spoke earlier about having somebody in the midfield that calms the nerve. We haven't got that. We just haven't got it.
And it's not going to be that, is it? When did Arsenal last concede 5 in a game? I mean,
I understand his fear. I understand his fear because if Arsenal played like they did at the weekend and City played like they did second half Chelsea, there could be a, Liverpool just went there and got done 3, didn't they? So I understand his fear, but there's some I agree with and some I don't. Look, one of Arsenal's strengths this season has been their toughness and resilience defensively and the physicality of Gabriel and Saliba and Declan. And we were praising that for large parts of the season, how strong they are defensively and how they go after teams and win the ball back and stuff. So I think it's more about the quality and bravery with the ball when trying to break teams down. That's where the fear kicks in. I think they're fine defensively. Yes, they were trying to win the game and got done by the counter from Bournemouth, but it's not a physical. It's not like a. I know what he means by nice players. Sometimes they are picking people up and saying, "Yeah, you're all right," but it's just the way the game's gone. I think it's the biggest problem Arsenal have got now is when they've got the ball, is who's got the responsibility and creativity and bravery to go. I'm going to be the one that makes something happen. That's the problem. Right. And I think just to finish on that, the games moving forward, Ezra would be in for me. Ezra, however you say it. He's the one who's got that about him.
Arsenal fan Neil, what's your biggest concern at this particular stage, mate? Good morning.
Good morning, boys. How you doing?
Good, morning. Thank you.
Yes, I think the biggest threat to the Arsenal is the Arsenal. After watching the second half performance on Saturday, that's the thing that really, really worries me. We're talking about how Chelsea came out in the second half. Sorry, how Manchester City came out in the second half.
Yeah.
After obviously Pep must have got into them. Let's face it, the way they played in the first half, City was pretty slow and lethargic. But they come out in the second half, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. When I was watching the game on Saturday, at half time, I thought to myself, surely now Arteta's going to get into them. They're going to be on the front foot. We're going to put pressure on the goalkeeper. We're going to get shots in. We're going to go for it. But it was the complete opposite.
None of that.
It must have been the worst second half performance by an Arsenal team. And I've been watching. I'm 73 this year. I went to the first game at the Arsenal when I was 8. So you can imagine.
Yes.
My nerves are shred now. They really are. But they are shredded. They're shredded. I'm off on holiday tomorrow, so I shall miss.
Good man. Where are you going?
Going to Antigua.
Oh, lovely. Oh, yeah. Forget about this weekend, mate.
It's my wife and I's 50th wedding anniversary this year. So,
beautiful. What's your wife's name?
We're off to Antigua, and I'll be hoping to get WhatsApp messages from my 2 sons and daughter. And
well, you never know.
You'll find a bar over there. They'll have it on. Watch it on the beach.
Have a lovely time, Neil. What's your wife's name?
Christine.
Oh,
Christine,
lovely.
So,
Neil and Christine, happy anniversary. There's Christine in the background. To hell with Arsenal. We're going to Antigua.
She has to put up with me. I don't know how she puts up with me, Jim, but
mate,
as I say,
well done.
Arsenal are still going to do it. Come on, you Gunners. Thank you.
There you go. Thanks for the call. Jay, you're probably not going to Antigua. What do you think this morning, mate?
Definitely not going to Antigua, and good morning to you guys.
Morning.
I hear that the argument is Arsenal, we're our biggest opponents. I get where it's coming from, the pressure, the expectations, the scars from previous title races, but that all plays a part. But for me, the only that's only half of the story, to be honest with you, Jim. Because when you're talking about winning the Premier League, for me, it's, you're battling, not just battling mentality, you're battling a machine. And in my opinion, that machine is Man City. We've seen year after year, you could be top in March, playing great football, everyone praising you, and then City just go on one of those 5, 10, 12 game runs. And suddenly the gap disappears. And we've seen that year after year with Arsenal, where we're maybe top for a few months, most of the season, March, April. We tend to fall off. And that's not pressure. That's the quality and experience at the highest level that Man City really show. Arsenal have improved massively, no doubt about it. I wouldn't say we've got a young squad to a degree, a young energy. They can go toe-to-toe with anyone on a day, but the question isn't if they can beat City once, it's if they can match City every single week for 38 games. That's where titles are won and lost, in my opinion.
Sure. And you think, it sounds to me, by the tone of your voice, you think it's lost again, do you?
No, I don't.
You're not going to win it?
We are going to win it.
Oh, you are going to win it. Okay.
I feel like we are going to win it. Whether we win or lose against Man City, we're still going to be top of the league. And again, as I said, our biggest thing is seeing if we can go toe-to-toe with Man City. It'd be great if we do win on Sunday. But I'm not going to be one of those fans that is going to say, just because we've had a bad few games that we're losing the Premier League, I'm just not going to be that.
Okay, no, you're quite right, Jay. Why not? Peter's a Man City fan. Do you guys win it on Sunday then, Peter?
Well, I think we've got to get past Sunday, and knowing City, because I've supported them for donkey's years, we've probably got to get past Burnley the Wednesday after. Because knowing City, we'll probably win on Sunday and then give it away at Burnley. But I just think people need to remember, I mean, I'm a Blue through and through and have been for 45 years, but, Arsenal have only got a draw. So I think, it's very early to be calling this. And I think there's a few trips yet along the way. No, I mean, City's season hasn't been brilliant. We in the league, I think we drew the last two before yesterday. I mean, my lad was there and it was great. It was a great atmosphere. And I get the momentum. I totally understand it. But come Sunday, I'll be bricking myself thinking we're going to lose 7-0 because that's what happens. And that's what it is all about. But I think at this stage, to say that game's going to make the difference, honestly, City can throw it away with the best of them and they can win it with the best of them. So it depends who turns up after Sunday, I think.
Peter, is that fair, Danny, do you think? What do you think? Simon, is that fair?
Well, I think it's fair because obviously City season, they have had some bad spells. So they're not the City of a few years ago, but they still have this nucleus of players who've been there and done it before and are playing free.
Yeah.
So if they do, I actually do think if they beat Arsenal, looking at the fixtures, then Arsenal are in trouble.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it will. I think it will be difficult for Arsenal if they're to lose that game. I thought the games after that, Arsenal can definitely win when they're playing Newcastle and Palace and other sides like that. I think that one of the big energisers for Man City is if you're able to go into the transfer market in January and buy Semenyo from Bournemouth and Mark Gahey from Crystal Palace. It gives you a massive opportunity to really kick on. So you revitalise. Arsenal didn't re-energise themselves in January. If they needed to re-energise, they didn't. Now, they should have had enough already, but notwithstanding that, so should City. But City have gone back into the market and bought two of the best players in the Premier League and reintroduced them into a framework that's already very experienced, already has an elite manager that knows how to navigate his way through the back end of seasons to get outcomes when perhaps teams suggest that they can't. I still think that Arsenal have enough about them to be able to, go to their loins and get themselves together. And I wouldn't be surprised if they went up to the Etihad and did something on the weekend in terms of getting an outcome, either get a draw or get a result, because City haven't been great. As the caller says, now I don't know where he comes from suggesting that he needs to be nervous. Man City have dominated the Premier League for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So that nervousness should surely have dissipated by now.
Yeah. Wonder if that cloud that seems to exist over North London this morning has got everybody there in a state of depression, because when you look at it, not only Arsenal, let's look at Tottenham next. New manager, yes. Same old Tottenham, isn't it? We're back after this.
Eddie Howe deserves to keep his job definitely in the summer, rebuild his squad of players, probably no European football next season, but you have to be honest and say the Premier League season hasn't been good enough at Newcastle standards. That's fine.
But is that because of the fact that they haven't got a deep enough squad?
Of course, they haven't got a deep enough squad, but the players that they've had available, they shouldn't be behind Sunderland in the league.
But aren't we back to the same discussion that we had when we were talking about Aston Villa? And that is that they have owners that are wealthy, probably wealthier than everybody else, but yet they're unable to spend because of the financial restrictions. And as a result, that's keeping them further down the pecking order.
Who do you think?
Because you look at their last few seasons,
Yep.
Champions League, qualification, then out.
Yep.
Great season getting to the winning the cup competition, getting to the Champions League, and then out. So what's next season? Another great season, and then the following season not being able to sustain it?
The problem
'Cause
they've got...
It's up and down, up and down, up and down.
The
Because
problem they've got as well is, do they have to sacrifice a player as well, like Aston Villa have? Is that Tonali? Is that Ramirez? Which one is it that they have to sacrifice?
Tonali will go in the summer.
What sort of figures are you thinking for him?
80.
And where will he go?
Manchester.
Ooh.
Which one?
Take your pick.
But the interesting thing
I
there
think
is
he'll end up
that-
at City or United.
is that Elliot Anderson is a target, isn't he, for Manchester United? But you're not going to
Target for both
of those in, are you?
Well,
one will go one club and the other one will go the other.
There's one message, one of many, but this has a note of optimism about it, maybe an injection of reality if you're an Arsenal fan. Arsenal win one game of football head-to-head next week at City, and it's over. Just go and win a game of football. If only it was that simple. And Tottenham fans must be thinking that, if only it was that simple. Spurs go to Sunderland and lose by a single goal to nil. Spurs lost their 16th Premier League game of the season. It's now 1 point from a possible 24 in 2026. And they sit 18th in the relegation zone, right in it now. 2 points from safety with 6 games to go. Simon, what do you think? There was no bounce. I think we're all agreed on that for Igor Tudor. What did we see, albeit over 90 minutes, under De Zerbi? We often talk about style over substance. Was there not a lot of style or substance?
Well, when I looked at the team, I thought that's a team that's set up to do a job. It's more in keeping with the team that I thought that should be picked a lot of time during the course of the season. I mean, obviously, Solanke's now available more regularly than he was at the beginning of the season. But they just didn't... I mean, Sunderland is no easy game to go to. So you've got to put opposition into the equation. When you look at West Ham doing a number on Wolves, despite the fact Wolves are free, they are bottom of the league. They're bottom of the league for a reason. And West Ham are emboldened at this moment in time with good spirit. De Zerbi isn't Harry Potter. He isn't going to be able to just turn it around instantaneously. They aren't wands. You know, he's going to have learned something from that particular game about certain players. Conor Gallagher contributed virtually nothing to that particular game. In fact, I thought he was very poor and expected much more from him, given the fact I'd seen him at Palace previously, and a lot of noise was made about how desperately disappointed Chelsea fans were when they lost him to go to Atletico Madrid. You know, they are in mortal jeopardy now, Spurs. Clearly, obviously, there's no doubt about it. They're in the bottom three. You can't hide from it. But I still think that De Zerbi has the ability to be able to get something from this group of players more than they've gotten previously. It doesn't matter what's gone before. There's 5 games to go. He's now seen them in action against Sunderland. Who's their next game against? It's Brighton at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which is no advantage to them because the fans are going to be, despite the fact that the fans will be behind the team, the moment things start going wrong in the game, which they will at periods of time, the fans will go where the players are going at this moment in time, disappearing into complete a wreckage of nerves and inability to overcome adversity. Look, I can't forecast whether Spurs are going to stay in this division now because my belief was that somehow or another West Ham would run out of momentum. But when you go and beat Wolves 4-0, and you keep the momentum going, the belief will be in West Ham now. They're at the bottom 3. The psychological battle will have been laid down for them. Forest got back in and got a point against Aston Villa. The only team that's not showing anything at this moment in time is Spurs. And so it becomes a very challenging perspective. And of course, the story, if you're talking about media-wise, the story is obviously, if you want a media story, it's Spurs getting relegated, isn't it?
It's a story, let alone a media story. It's a massive story. Pre-match, I noticed, Danny, De Zerbi, I want to keep the ball. I want to see the Tottenham I watched with Ange Postecoglou, because in my second season in Brighton, there was Postecoglou here with a lot of these players, and it was one of the best teams in terms of quality of play. He watches them and sees his side lose against Sunderland. This was in post-match.
When they stay with me, for sure, they will see a positive coach because I believe in their qualities. Just for that, because we are Tottenham, but we have not to win the game because just because we are Tottenham. You can't win the game with the paper. You have to win the game showing the quality on the pitch, the fighting on the pitch. You have to score the goal and you have not to concede goal, for sure. But they are human and they are suffering maybe too much. And altogether we have to stay close, to be positive, to work, to improve in the details in the football, but to be better as a mentality, no?
Danny, is 6 games enough to be able to change the trajectory, the fight, the confidence of this Tottenham group?
Doesn't look like. I think it's really hard to make a quick impact as a manager. Some do it, but generally the best ones I've worked with take a little while to implement ideas and methods and turn around some confidence. The problem Tottenham have got, they were actually reasonably well organised and they tried. They did try. There wasn't a lack
good of them.
No, I know you, but they've been accused of some of them. So they put the effort in. The reality is you've got to score goals to win games, and their front players have got no confidence, no belief in themselves. There's no creativity. There's no Maddison-type player who takes the ball in dangerous situations and risks the ball. We were talking about Cherky earlier, for example, City, and even Arsenal lacking that a little bit a minute. But they are toothless. And I didn't really see what he'd been working. I could see what he'd been working on defensively in the shape. They look quite, although Sunderland had the better chances, there wasn't that much in it, first half especially. But I didn't understand how they were going to score a goal. Where was the width coming from? Where were the crosses coming from? Who's going to play Solanke? How are they getting? Who's going to get past him? No one ran past him to make space. It was all rigid. So easy to defend against for Sunderland. I mean, Sunderland had loads of players missing as well, by the way. Their back four's been decimated. The centre-halves have been missing. And they were like that, smoking a cigar. It was so easy. And if that carries on, they're doomed. Because you've got to score some goals. You don't have to be completely gung-ho and lose the game doing that, because they're not that good at the moment.
Yeah.
But you have to do a bit
I mean,
more.
that's the bare minimum, isn't it? Getting yourself in the score sheet.
Well, the most worrying thing, they're 1-0 down with 20 minutes plus to play. They hardly mustered a chance.
Yeah.
You might as well commit some men forward, do something different, change the formation, put some... One of their better players, Simons, who hasn't had a great season, but he's been better in the last couple of months, he didn't bring him on till 10 minutes from the end. Some of his substitutions were strange, but that...
How much quality is in this group of players?
Enough to stay up.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
If they can't even find a way to score?
But that's confidence. It's the previous managers set them up in certain ways. They've been drained of confidence. They look fear. They look... When they're... So many players... I mean, I've talked about this before as a general subject in terms of so many players now are scared to be the one that gives the ball away, or their stats are going to be spoiled by trying too many things. But this team now, in terms of confidence, every one of them is overthinking, and they're looking and think, "Oh no, I won't risk it," and they pass the buck onto someone else. I don't really see who's going to drag them through. I can't see who's going to. Solanke doesn't look at it really. Moani's, who's not bad actually on his day, but he's struggling for confidence. Richarlison tries every week, but lacks a bit of quality.
Romero left the pitch in tears. He might be out for a while.
Well, I think his tears were probably because he thinks he'll miss the World Cup. I know that sounds a bit cynical, but
tears for Argentina, but not for Spurs.
I think so. Why are you crying if you've just got a knock? I mean, it did look a naughty one. I think he thinks he's done his knee. I think you know as a player when you've got a bad one, and I think the tears were, I'm going to miss the World Cup. I'm not saying he doesn't care about Tottenham, but what I mean is that wasn't, I'm leaving the pitch and we'll lose.
I mean, Simon, Forest got a point. They draw with Villa. Leeds play tonight. We don't know yet. West Ham did brilliantly on Friday night.
Yeah.
I mean, they are the big winners of the weekend at the bottom.
Sure.
At this time.
I mean, there's
nothing to suggest that Tottenham are going to get out of this.
Their managers have had a longer run at getting them together, haven't they?
Yeah.
So Zerbi has got to go instantaneously.
Well, Nuno took a while, Simon, didn't he?
He did.
They struggled like hell.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. They took some time to get themselves together, and they're now they're as together as they have been for some time. And so they give themselves a great opportunity, despite the fact that the bookies have tipped them to go down. I've repeatedly said that I think they'll go down. To answer your question, technically, Spurs are far too good to be in this position. Spiritually, they are where they deserve to be. And that's the question now, is not necessarily about technical abilities, about the spiritual expectations that Zerbi is going to try and exact from these players. He talks about the fact, I don't quite know what he's talking about in terms of Postecoglou and the team that he watched being one of the best teams to watch. I'm not, when? The first 9 games of Postecoglou's tenure? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, they did finish 5th that year, to be fair.
I know, but they really, their momentum was getting at the beginning of the season. Back end of the season, they drifted away, didn't they? So I don't think you can really make that claim. But the point he was making about the fact that we know we've got good players here and these players are good enough, it's not about how good they're going to be, it's about how much they're going to fight. And we're going to have to see that. We know, of course, you've got the irony of him playing against Brighton next weekend, who were in decent nick.
They're in great form.
And can really put Tottenham to the sword at home in front of the home fans that have had nothing but misery heaped upon them, with a manager that's playing against a team that he ultimately fell out with to some extent with the ownership.
And if you've got Jared Bowen at West Ham, who's speaking for himself, obviously, and the rest of the players, then you think, well, they're all right. I have such a big love for this club. It hurts to be in the position we're in. I want to contribute every single week. I want to get us out of this. That's what you want to hear, isn't it? But what you're hearing at Tottenham, not really the same, is it? Is 6 games enough to be able for De Zerbi to change the fight, the confidence of this Tottenham group? Tottenham Hotspur fans this morning, where are you at following the events of the weekend? And now you're in it. You've been flirting with it, but now you're in the brown stuff. You're right down in the bottom 3. Are you going to get out of it? 03717 223344.
Robertson at Liverpool, early in the show, but here's a reminder what Robertson achieved in his career. He'll leave Anfield after 9 years. 9 years, brilliant. Over 375 appearances and having won every trophy available. What about that for a career, Ray? Did you win every one?
What's that, Al? What listening?
Rob won 375 appearances.
Did he?
For Liverpool. And he's won every trophy available.
I didn't win the Champions League. That's the only one we was missing for us. We won the League Cup. I won the League Cup, FA Cup, Premier League, Cup Winners' Cup, I think it was, UEFA Cup. Cup Winners' Cup was.
And he came with Maguire, didn't he, from Hull?
Who's another great player who's playing tonight, who come from Hull? You get that. He's playing tonight. There's a clue for you. Another great signing.
Of course.
Bowen. He come from Hull City.
Of course he did.
All the fantastic players who play for Hull. Who did I play for? Hull City.
I love that. I love the. Do you know the way he strikes the ball? He's hardly any backlift. But he is. He's deadly.
I can see Robertson going Celtic, though, can you?
Yes, I think so.
Obviously, Tierney's still there as well, isn't he?
Tierney's had a great career. But I think the injuries caught up with him a little bit.
Yeah, quite.
But he still gives his 100%. And Andy Robbo, he's an.
Life after football. For a lot of players, it means going into punditry. Some turn to coaching or working in the game in other ways. But what about the rest? Some former footballers turn their sights away from the game, and there are a few big surprises. First up, from rainbow flicks to pancake flips. Ex-Chelsea and Southampton defender Ken Monku switched up his footballing career to buy a Dutch pancake house. He bought out the shop, which had been his favourite pancake spot as a child, and before long he was mixing the batter and getting behind the stove. Next, Everton legend Thomas Gravesen swapped out the high stakes of the Premier League for those of the poker room. He made over 150 appearances for the Toffees and won the Scottish Premier League with Celtic. Turned out the Danish international was pretty darn good at poker. He racked up a reported £100 million from his Las Vegas adventures. Remember former Chelsea goalkeeper Petr Cech? Turns out football nets weren't the only goals he was pretty handy in front of. After retirement, he became a goaltender in ice hockey. Same skills, very different surface. And he even won a Division 2 title with Guildford Phoenix. For ex-Liverpool centre-back Daniel Agger, it wasn't just fancy footwork that was in his blood. He was also pretty good with his hands. The Denmark international turned to tattoo artistry after he hung up his boots. He'd qualified as a skin artist while at Anfield, and he then became the co-owner of his own tattoo company as well. It's not all glamour for ex-pros, though. 1966 World Cup winner Ray Wilson set up a very different kind of business. He became an undertaker after he retired. Finally, not many people can say they've won both a World Cup and starred in an Oscar-winning film. In fact, there's only one person in the entire world who can say that. Frank Leboeuf, the former Chelsea defender, was part of the 1998 France squad who won the World Cup. He ended up marking Brazil's Ronaldo in the final and helped his side to a 3-0 win. But Leboeuf had already begun acting on the side while he was playing football, and his biggest role came some years after his retirement when he landed the part of a doctor in the Stephen Hawking biopic The Theory of Everything.
I embrace the career of acting, so I want to learn more. So seeing lots of movies is a part of my job.
To be honest, with all the dramatic diving in the game these days, there's probably tons of ex-pros who've got the acting skills to make it in Hollywood.
Good morning, everybody. 5 minutes past 11 o'clock. Beautiful Monday morning in this part of the world here in London. Hope it's good wherever you're listening around the UK and beyond. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy. We're live in talkSPORT, live on your TV as well. Even Prime Video, wherever you want to watch a show, you can see us live. Tyson Fury comfortably beat Arslanbek Makhmudov on his boxing return. Was Anthony Joshua unsuccessfully bounced into a Fury fight? We'll get to that further down the line. A lot to talk about there as to what is actually next after AJ said thanks but no thanks. I'm not committing at the moment. In the meantime, Tottenham Hotspur under De Zerbi for the first time had a troublesome season, to say the least of it, in the Premier League. They go up to the northeast, take on Sunderland, come back empty-handed, lose by a single goal to nil. Spurs, in the process, lost their 16th league game of the season. It's now 1 point from a possible 24 in 2026. Danny, you played for this club. Can you believe where they're at?
No. Absolutely surprised. Gutted for them, really. Got great supporters, good people at the club who I know still. It's been incredible demise, hasn't it? And just got worse each season.
Are they gone?
The recruitment's been the biggest blame, if you like.
Yeah.
But I think I just, based on the last few weeks, I know he's only been in there a little while and you expect a bounce, but I just, looking at the fixtures, especially the other teams as well, because Leeds have got some really good home fixtures coming up. West Ham's fixtures aren't too bad. And Forest have shown a bit of fight. So, yeah, I think they're gone.
You think they're gone, Simon? Brighton at home, Wolves away, Villa away, Leeds at home, Chelsea away, Everton at home.
I mean, at the moment in time, with the way that they're playing, it's difficult to see how they're going to get results. But that's what De Zerbi's been brought in for, to be able to see if he can change the mindset. We argue and debate about whether they've got the players to be able to compete technically, and they've got better players in their position belies. We can talk about recruitment. We can talk about whose responsibility. We can talk about the fact that Postecoglou put them in the bottom four last year and he got away with it because he won the Europa League. So this is seeded in a variety. There are lots of different fathers behind this. Yeah. There's always a lot of fathers when it's success. There's also a lot of fathers when there's failure as well. And it isn't just the fact that bad recruitment, bad management.
Yeah,
this team, this management of this team, if we keep on debating and discussing and agreeing that the squad is good enough to be further up the league, not a top six squad, no one's debating that and suggesting that's what they should be, but this is a mid-table squad. So what's the difference then? Because it isn't in the boardroom, it's the manager's influence. Now, whether they should have taken Thomas Frank out, whether Thomas Frank was an isolated figure because the management team that put him in place was subsequently moved out, Paratici left after Daniel Levy left in the circumstances that he left. You put people in there that I've told you and I repeatedly tell you that I don't think have the football nous, and on their watch, after their proclamations about what they're going to do and how they re-energised their side in January when they knew they were amongst it, they bought Conor Gallagher. That was their statement to the masses about how we're going to get ourselves out of the challenges that we're in, because they didn't recognise the danger that we're in. They sold Brennan Johnson to Crystal Palace and used the money to fund buying Conor Gallagher. That was their statement of intent to be able to say, we know we're amongst it, which means they haven't got the football knowledge that they should have to recognise the danger that they were in.
Yeah.
They bought an Igor Tudor, whatever that was about. That was obviously about making sure the players had their minds concentrated. Was that the right methodology? Clearly not, because it didn't work. So they are right amongst it, and it's difficult. You can only see that there's the only thing you can look at is things like football ironies, where up pops De Zerbi, up pops Brighton, out comes a result that you don't expect because Tottenham Hotspur are dead man walking right now, and up comes Brighton that are in good nick. The manager's weathered his particular storm at Brighton when there was a section of the Brighton fan base that weren't having him anymore. Yeah. He suddenly got himself back into a groove. Brighton have got back to playing the way that we've expected them over the last 2 or 3 years. In comes De Zerbi, out comes a strange result. That's the sort of thing that's going to change the direction of travel.
Could happen, I suppose.
Could.
If it doesn't, Tottenham Hotspur, this mighty club with a phenomenal stadium, we all know that, of course, are looking at heading to Sheffield United, with all due respect, Birmingham, Swansea, Preston, Stoke next season. Is that what's going to happen? Graham's a big Tottenham fan and joins us live. Graham, good morning. Is that what's going to happen?
I am sorry to say, I think at the minute, I think it has to be. We'd have to be completely blindsided, I feel, to think anything else. I said in amongst group chats with friends that in January, the moment we slip into that bottom three, I don't see us getting out of it. And I think it's got nothing to do, and this alludes to a point that Simon made, I feel, maybe 10 minutes ago, about not necessarily having that quality, because it's clear that the quality hasn't been there this season. It's about having the fight and the mentality to actually pull yourself together, earn the money that you're being paid, and get yourself out of this and restore some sort of reputation that this football club has got. Unfortunately, I feel for us at the minute, we have too many players that have completely checked out. When the going got tough in and around January, February time, when you actually sat there and thought, we're in a bit of bother here, agents started appearing. Suddenly we've got Van der Ven doing interviews with his dad, and straight away you look at that and go, they're angling for moves already. We've got Paulina, who's on loan, who I actually really like, and I feel he's probably the closest one we've got to someone that's willing to stand up and fight and knows what it takes to try and win games of football. But when you look at, we've put up with Mr. Tickle in goal for most of the season. He's come out and He's come out and started flirting back with Italy again. Kolo Muani's on loan from PSG. He was brought in at a last resort and a panic buy. Didn't really want to come, but has ended up here. And when you just look at what we've got, when you compare that to West Ham with the likes of Souček, Bowen, who have got a connection with the club and a genuine connection, I don't see, and I hope to God I am proven wrong, because I'm a massive Tottenham fan. I have been and I always will be. But I openly see it from a football perspective and a football point of view. And my opinion is I just don't see that they've got the mentality in them to pull themselves together and get a win that is needed in order to kickstart the next 5-6 games.
Wow. Graham, I'll let you go on there at length. It was such a good call. And the points you made were good ones. And it's obviously heartfelt. Chris, do you share the same view as Graham there? Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, mate.
Yes, very much so. And to be honest, I've been a Spurs fan all my life, and it's got to the point where I think we need to go down. I think it will humble us. I think we need to get rid of, I say the big shots. You've got players in that team, like your previous caller said, that are already sort of sneaking around moves and trying to make sort of deals elsewhere. And you know, it's not a good feel. You go down to the ground, you know, you watch the game, it's just not got that feel of Tottenham anymore. And the more it goes on, the more this keeps going on, buying players that we don't need. I mean, we bought an 18-year-old left-back when both our strikers are injured. You know, it doesn't have that fit. And I think by going down, start fresh, give De Zerbi a real good go, stick with him 5 years. You know, I mean, Postecoglou come out in an interview and said he wanted to buy Semenyo, Gueye, Pedro Neto. The spine of the team would have been transformed. Look at the Eze scenario. We don't spend the money. It costs money to be in the Premier League. It costs money to be a big club. Man City, Liverpool, you know, Chelsea, they spend the money and they get the rewards. Yeah, I say they don't win the league every year, but you know, you've got to spend the money, and we penny pinch. And
okay, Chris,
to be honest, I think
it might not be the worst thing if you go down. Alex, do you agree with that? Another Tottenham fan, do you agree with that? Might not be the worst thing.
Yeah, it's a lot what the other callers have said are bang on. Unfortunately, I mean, Simon won't agree, but a lot of this does stem from Daniel Levy, unfortunately. He should have got rid of Postecoglou this January last year when he was losing games. He lost 22 league games last year. People seem to forget this, even though Andrew's coming out with this narrative of he was resting players for the Europa. It was just he didn't have a plan B or plan C. What I wanted to ask Simon was, we are probably going down, which is looking inevitable now. How does he think from a commercial point of view, with losing money to sponsors and broadcasting, etc., how does he think it would, if we got promoted straight out at the first attempt, how does he think it would look commercially to get back into Champions League football? Or would it take us a long time, like a newly promoted club?
There you go. Here he is, Alex.
Well, I think first of all, I think you're right in what you said about Ange Postecoglou, and ironically, I said that to Daniel last year. I think they held on because the European competition was what they were holding on for, and buying into what they felt that he was going to achieve, and obviously getting the monkey off their back and not winning anything. It took the view, and that's why they fired at the end of the season, irrespective of winning it, didn't they? I don't think you'd be getting relegated this season if Daniel Levy was still there. I think decisions would have been made earlier, and judgments might have been made, and maybe Thomas Frank might have got more support than he got from those around him. It's a disaster for Spurs. This is a disaster, and I mean, and to some extent, if you get relegated, which is a distinct possibility, you've got huge losses in commercial revenues, huge losses in player salaries that you're going to have to find a way around, which you'll do. You'll sell the players. You're going to have to rebuild. You're going to have to rebuild. So even if Spurs go down and go back up again, which they probably will, I don't think it's a straight line straight into the Champions League again, because all of a sudden players aren't going to want to sign for Spurs. But you know, the last caller said, "Oh, we wanted to, you know, Ange Postecoglou wanted to sign Semenyo, did he?" And Postecoglou wanted to sign Mark Gueye. Oh, that was revolutionary. Mark Gueye wouldn't have signed for Spurs. He wanted to sign for
None of them would.
None of them would have signed. So we can all trot these little analyses out of what we would have wanted to sign once we've been shuffled out the door. What the job was to make the best of what you've got. And we still maintain, and I know I'm going around in circles, I still maintain that you have to look at the management of this group of players. Yes, you can look at the ownership. Yes, you should look at Daniel and criticise him, because ultimately this is legacy on him. You have to look at new ownership. They're the ones that sat in September, decided to change the boardroom, decided to put a number 2 running the football club and a number 2 running the recruitment policy, decided to, to change management at a stage when perhaps they could have supported the manager better, decided not to invest any money in January besides the money that they had recouped from selling Brennan Johnson. And here you are now. So they're going to have to go right into their pockets and bridge the gap between what it is that's going to cost them from going down and what it is that will keep them on some degree of level balance. They go back up again with a decent squad of players that can go into the Premier League and compete again.
Just quickly, Simon, what would be the figure be, loss of TV money and commercial, roughly?
It would be
hundreds
of millions. Because ultimately you're carrying down a £250, £300 million wage bill. You'll be able to decimate that. You'll also take away major sponsors out of the equation. You'll take away probably 100 million worth of TV revenues, and on and on.
Even with the parachute payment.
Yeah.
Relegation, don't even think about it. But it's a reality. It certainly could well end up being a reality. We need some kind of a good news story, don't we? Rory, thank God for you.
Ethan and Werry and Miles Lewis Skelly this summer, and we're talking about maybe 100 million for the pair. That's too much, surely.
Well, no, I mean they're great prospects, aren't they?
100 mil for
Skelly's probably just he's not had a great time lately. He's just fell away from that first team a little bit. He's got a lot of people in front of him at the moment. And Capio, who's come in, he's done a really good job on that left hand side. You got Calafiori as well. So I feel for him a little bit because you're a young player. You went through that little bit of stage where your form ain't great. A lot has happened in his career very quickly, Al. I mean, scoring a goal for England, playing for your country at a young age. So it might have just caught up with him a little bit, but he's just got to keep working hard and see where it takes him. Waineri's on loan at the moment, but he's a top player as well. A really, really
and you're really
great
happy
talent.
with young Max, aren't you?
Oh, Max is doing different class. 16. People forget he's only 16. It's amazing. He changed the game. He changed the game when he come on against Everton. He looked like
and was getting back and helping out.
Yeah, and he scored that first goal. As I said before, his family must be so proud to watch him. Has gone through the ranks and all that, and he's a really good grounded young kid. So he's going to be a real prospect. Look, things can go wrong still, as in football. You know what it's like. Al, you had a poor injury, didn't you, yourself?
Yeah.
Injuries can affect you.
A gradual injury.
But I think the technology now is a lot better from when you was around, I should imagine. But he's got everything going for him. He's just got to keep working hard, and he's going to make a difference as well. And he's a real talent. Absolutely, could be one of the best players ever.
So who stayed up? Who stayed up to watch Rory McIlroy go over the line? Danny Murphy, for one.
And Mr. Jordan, who doesn't even like golf.
Simon Jordan, who's still struggling with a bit of a bad back. Did you stay up?
I did, because I always make very little contribution to the golf chat and always go, I don't like it. I thought, I'm going to watch it. Just going to sit. I've got back from Spain. I'm going to sit and watch this last round and see what I can see.
Right. It was just too much for me. I mean, he was looking good for it, and I thought, I need to put out the light now. It's a busy day tomorrow.
Don't they turn the tellies off at the home?
They
at 11.
Yeah, the matron normally comes in. I say, yeah, I've had enough, thanks. Pops it off, and off I go. So, I mean, what made you stay up, Simon? What made you want to see McIlroy? Was it him that you wanted to see over the line, or were you thinking Rose might get it?
I wanted to see Justin Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be some more intrigue. Obviously, I was following little bits over the weekend in Spain and seeing how well he was doing, and then saw the dip off on the third round. But I was interested in watching Justin Rose, because I like Justin Rose. I like what he represents. I like the way he played in the Ryder Cup. I like the kind of character that he seems to exude. And when he was on the charge, I thought there was an opportunity for him, and I thought that would have been a great outcome for him at this stage in his career.
Were you hoping to see Rory do it a second time, Danny?
I was ambivalent, really, because there was so many great stories. Rosie being one because of the 3 seconds previously. What a story that would have been. How could you not love that scenario? But Rory, even Tyrrell Hatton at the end when he was coming through, there were so many great stories. But I was pleased for Rory, because the more I've listened to him and followed him over the years, the more I've liked him and been engaged by him. Because for a long time, I didn't want him to win anything because he's a Man United fan. I know that sounds pathetic. Because my love of golf grew, and just watching him and the mentality to be able. I mean, what did he do? He double bogeyed 4, bogeyed 6, and then you're thinking, oh my God, how's he going to? And then he makes 2 on 2 birdies, 7 and 8. That resilience and that. If you play golf, even to any average level, you understand how the mind plays tricks on you when you're having a bad round.
It's a good point. Well, this man was across a lot. talkSPORT's golf correspondent Rupert Bell joins us. Rupert, good morning. 17 years without winning one, then 2 come along at once. I mean, he's a golfing goat, isn't he?
He's heading that way. Well, he's obviously joined Nick Faldo now with 6 majors to his name. He now wants to make him a joint equal, as I say, the most successful European golfer in majors in modern times. I think he now wants, he's got the bug, he's got the bit between the teeth. And I thought yesterday, in the end, he had that 2-stroke cushion. He could actually enjoy the 18th. He couldn't last year. And okay, he had a bogey. It didn't matter in the end. But there were 2 decisive points on that back 9 where he really sealed the deal, as far as and showed just what a good place he was. Because he doesn't do it straightforward. It's a roller coaster, as we saw on Saturday. It was a roller coaster at the start of the run. It was the shot on 12 to about 10 feet and then holding the putt. That's the famous par 3. But that putt on 16 was just a thing of outrageous beauty from the back of the green, and his ability to read that putt just was the sort of, right, I'm in the right place, because he hit it to no more than 2 feet. Okay, it wasn't, if it had gone in, it would have been as famous as Woods' chipping in 2005. But those were the decisive moments for me on the back 9 that showed that he was in such a good place, having found himself in difficulties, and he was able to enjoy it, and he knew how to get over the line, while others, well, Scotty Scheffler I even didn't think he was going to win. Tyrrell Hatton probably was able to relax in his round and suddenly found himself at the top of the leaderboard. But I really did feel for Justin Rose, because those little mistakes on 11 and 10, I think it was,
the duff chip,
that took the wind out of his sails. And that was sad, because I think we all, and I'm with you, Simon, and maybe Danny, we were all thinking this could be Rose's years, but he just unfortunately came up short.
Well, I mean, victory for Rory. He joins Nicholas, Faldo, Woods to win consecutive editions of the Masters. This was McIlroy.
I've just won my 6th major, and I feel like I'm in a really good spot with my game and my body, and I've I don't want to put a number on it, but I feel like this win is just it's a I don't want to say a stop on the journey, but it's just a part of the journey. And I still have things that I want to achieve, and but I still want to enjoy it as well. I've waited so long to win the Masters, and all of a sudden I win 2 in a row.
So he's saying there's more to come, Rupert.
Yeah, he wants us. I think the thing that we'd love to do, because no one's done it, and that's a three-peat. That just might be the thing, to become the first Masters champion to win 3 in a row. I mean, that would cement his status as one of the all-time greats if he's not already. So that would be, I think, getting him going. He wants more. Maybe he wants a double Grand Slam, if you see what I mean, by winning the Open, winning the US PGA and US Opens more times. I think there's a lot still to play for, and I think that's what's interesting about him. This is almost like he's been released by what happened 12 months ago, and everything seems to be in a good place off the course in terms of, being able to do what he wants. And I think that's so important for all sportsmen and women. If you've got everything going right behind the scenes, you're able then to just focus on what you need to do. And in his case, is now kick on and win more majors, because that's what he wants to define his career by. Maybe winning another DP World Tour Order of Merit and FedEx. Well, they all look good and they swell your bank balance, but actually it's the majors that count, and that's what's driving him on.
Do you think, Danny, it'll ever happen for Rose? He's 45 now.
Excuse me. You tend to think no, because he's getting older, but the way he spoke after, how fit he feels, and how he's talking about playing for years on, so you never know. I hope so, because he's given so much to that particular competition. So yeah, I hope so, but it's unlikely, isn't it? I think as you get a bit older as a golfer, your chances dwindle. The stats tell you that. What did you make, Rupert, of Scotty's comments regarding the way they dealt with the course on the Friday and the softening it up and stuff for the different times?
Well, have you never heard all golfers bleat? Just deal with what's in front of you. The Masters know what they want. That's what the course is about. They want to make it a test. And if you look at the scores over the last few years, 10 to 12 is the winning score under par. They all get a bit precious. And Masters, what's interesting, Masters are saying, how do we defend the course, because they're all hitting it so far? And this is what's worrying the Masters organisers, is how do we make it future-proof, because everyone's now hit, even amateurs. I think Fred Ridley, the chairman of Augusta, was talking about some guy, an amateur hitting it 370 yards. Well, they haven't got the real estate, even though they try with 13's gone practically out of state. They're having to do their best. So I think these players have got to just accept what their fate, and actually there's a bigger issue, is how do they make sure the course does become something that can enable the best players to come to the top, and it's not just a grip it and rip it show.
Oh, Rupert, thank you so much. Rory McIlroy, just the 15th man in history to claim 6 or more major titles, and he says last night was just a stop in the road. We shall see. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
Pep Guardiola has been speaking today about his team's tendency to finish season strongly.
Hopefully we can do a lot of points. It's at the situation that we are in the Premier League, so we need to do all of them. Otherwise we will not give us a chance to try it until the end. So we need to do a lot of points. We were not consistent enough during the season. We dropped points that we should take it, and that's why we're in the position that now we cannot do it differently.
He also talked a little bit about on whether he feels more excited at this time of the year. No, he says, I have a lot of yellow cards. That means how excited I am. Not just for April, but during the season, I have had a good energy and I still have good energy. You get the feeling that he thinks that there's still a chance that they can catch them.
I think they're probably going to have to win every game to do it. We were just working it out there on Gabby's crib sheet. They've got 8 games left. They're on 61 points. So if they win every game, they get to 85. That would mean that Arsenal on 70 need 5 wins from their last 7 games. If they win every game, Manchester City, they've got to squeak, especially as they play Arsenal. But they have no margin for error. And I actually agree with Gabby. We all think Chelsea will lose on Sunday, but it might be a more difficult task than we think. Remember, they went with the under-21 manager to the Etihad Chelsea and got a point.
Over the last few years, Formula One has gone from elitist and insular to a global entertainment brand. The transformation's down to American investment group Liberty Media, who cultivated a new image for the sport since buying it in 2016. Better access to drivers, improved content on social media and tapping into the US market have given F1 a massive boost in both attention and revenues. But is everyone happy? The fans certainly are, as evidenced by Drive to Survive. Almost 7 million people per season have tuned in to get all the gossip and all the drama from the paddock. The extra exposure means the drivers can demand a higher salary too. In 2010, the top drivers were earning $20 million a year, which isn't bad. But now, the very best earn 3 times that, with Max Verstappen getting a whopping $65 million in 2025. But money doesn't always buy happiness. Some drivers, including Verstappen, don't like the pageantry the changes have brought about. In Las Vegas in 2023, Verstappen said the drivers were made to look like clowns, and the event was 99% performance and 1% race. Some purists who still watch the sport feel the same, and that the spirit of competition has suffered. But Formula One and Liberty Media don't look like slowing down anytime soon. So expect more races, major events and exclusive access in future.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus. Gambleaware.org.
And we're joined by Alex Licence at 11:34 precisely from BetMGM. We're going to look at the odds around and about some of the major events on the go at this time. Alex, good morning to you. Let's look at the top half of the Premier League then. Who's going to win it, Arsenal or Manchester City? What are you thinking?
Yeah, morning, lads. I mean, there's only one place to start, isn't there? I know it's been spoken about a lot already, but the Arsenal choke, it's starting to feel like a serious possibility, isn't it? It's that was a damaging result for them on Saturday, and has to be some genuine concerns for me, the lack of creativity from open play. I thought they looked vulnerable when Bournemouth went forward, who I think, I have to say, they deserve a lot of credit, Bournemouth. I thought they were excellent and probably deserved the win. And then it doesn't really get much easier for Arsenal, does it? Just a trip to the Etihad next. Danny, I was going to ask you, how do you think, how should Arsenal set up there? I know a draw is a brilliant result for them, but if they set up negatively at the Etihad and still get turned over, it doesn't look good, does it?
You don't change what you've got. They've got into this wonderful position by being really well organised and disciplined in the way they play, and you can't change it. You can't change it. You just work on it a bit more and you pick your moments to try and go and win the game. But no, there are no drastic changes. That would be silly because they are really good at what they do generally. They're just
so will there be a parking of a sizable bus at the Etihad?
No more than normal. I think Arsenal are very disciplined with their defending. They don't tend to go after many teams anyway. They're really structured in the way they defend, and then they bounce or they counter. And yeah, I think they'll soak up a bit of pressure. I think City will dominate the ball. And then when they win it back, they'll try and hurt them that way because City take risks.
Okay. What do the odds look like then this morning, Alex?
Yeah, well, as you'd expect, we've seen a big shift in the market. Before the international break, we had Arsenal as short as 1-10 to win the league. They're now 3-5. with the City coming in from 6-1 to as short as 6-5. But if there's one team you don't want chasing you, that's Manchester City, isn't it? They came alive yesterday in that second half.
Yeah.
And I thought Chelsea were fortunate to keep it at 3, really. I saw a stat that came up that City have now won 29 of their last 32 league games in April, which is pretty astonishing, you know. It just shows why they've been so successful at the business end of the season, because when most teams start to feel that pressure, start dropping some points, it seems that City just find that second gear, don't they? And just look a little bit unstoppable at the minute.
It was interesting as well that Pep saying that his great results in April was because of the sun.
When the sun comes out,
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
Really? Even in Manchester?
Yeah, he said that's why, because they don't get sun in Manchester, so they're always miserable till April.
I see. Arsenal have the worst win rate in April of any month under Arteta. City under Guardiola have their highest win percentage in April. So I'm told. And what about the bottom half of the Premier League then, Alex?
Yeah, kick things off with West Ham on Friday. A convincing 4-0 win at home to Wolves. Finally took them outside the relegation zone, up to 32 points. And then they could sit back and watch the other teams follow that. I mean, Forest, I think they could be relatively happy with that point against Villa. I don't think that's a bad result at all. But the woes continued for Spurs, didn't they? That's the first game under De Zerbi as a defeat. I mean, there's no doubt about the calibre of manager of De Zerbi, but I think it's quite interesting when you look at his start at Brighton. He didn't win any of his first 5 games there, and he simply just can't afford to do that, can he? We're looking at the relegation odds. We've got Spurs at 6-5, West Ham at 37-20, and then both Leeds and Forest at 5-1. But where's your money at now, lads? Which out of the 4 do you think will go?
Well, we were talking about it earlier, and we generally agreed that the way Spurs are playing, you'd have to, if you were going to have a bet, you'd go with them, because the others are all showing some fight and looking like they can win games. So
yeah, 6-5. You're saying it looks like it. I think it looks like it.
It does, but
like them.
The flip side to that is what Simon said. You know, the Iron football brings up these things. Zerbi against his old team, they beat them, then they go to Wolves and beat them. All of a sudden, if you can win 2 on the spin, you're in a great place.
I don't think they do.
No,
that's
I don't.
the problem.
I don't.
No, it'd be interesting to see how many points keeps you up. I mean, last year Spurs stayed up with 38 points, but they were under no threat really, despite the fact they finished, one place above the relegation.
I think that'll keep.
Leicester finished them up 25 points. So if you look at 38 points, where are Spurs going to get 8 points? Where are the other teams going to get 5 and 6 points? Because Leeds don't win games, they draw games. They're drawing their way to safety.
They've got a couple of home games, though, against Wolves and someone else down there, which you'd expect them.
Tottenham need to pick up more points than those around them.
Of course.
It's as simple as.
Absolutely, because they're 2 points off. But you look at West Ham have got Palace on Monday.
Yeah.
If Spurs lose on the weekend, West Ham they're already at it. Nuno Espirito Santo's already got into their ribs. And the idea that, we talked about the difference in players. Gerald Bowen saying, I want to play. But up until the point when Nuno Espirito Santo came here, you were the same players, you just weren't performing. So it has to be the manager.
Yeah.
It has to be what he's put into these players to get past the circumstances that they found themselves in, which he inherited. And also, so can De Zerbi do that in 5 minutes?
But also West Ham did exactly what Simon said earlier, but that Tottenham didn't do, is they brought in some extra players, and they've all had an impact. Tati up top, Darzi, Pablo. They went and had a go.
Yeah. I wonder if Leeds will have a go tonight at Old Trafford. Can they? Might they? Will they? Manchester United Leeds, a talkSPORT exclusive, 8 o'clock tonight. Steve Bruce is on co-commentary with Sam. What are you thinking there then, Alex?
Yeah, this is the big one for us, and I won't pretend that it's not the first fixture that I look for when they do come out at the start of the season. And then, as a Leeds fan born and bred in Manchester, this one means a little bit more to me as well. Sadly, it's not been pleasant viewing for quite a while. It's 18 league games without a win at Old Trafford. Although I do need to mention that League One Leeds United did knock them out of the FA Cup back in 2010, but that's about all we've had to brag about. And it looks like a bad time to play them, doesn't it? Man United now, they've lost just 1 of the last 14 league games. Only Arsenal have picked up more points in that period. But they're flying under Michael Carrick, aren't they? 6 from 6 in the Premier League. They look pretty much nailed on for a Champions League finish, you'd think. And we've got them as short as 8-15, the draw at 16-5, and then Leeds at 19-4. Do you lads give Leeds any sort of chance tonight?
I'm not so sure. I can't. I'd like to, and I don't know why.
I don't think so, but
I can't.
I have seen Leeds put in some good performances away from home. They keep the ball well. They won't be overawed by it. The problem is, I was looking at the injuries. Stack, Rodon are out, I think. Daniel James is out. Okafor's a 50-50 by all accounts. As soon as you start taking 1 or 2, it's going to be tough with them. Never mind with that.
I think it could be a long night.
I think if they got a draw, if you offered a draw, they'd bite your hand off.
You think?
Absolutely. I mean, these are the sort of games that will determine Carrick's future. These are the games now. United, one way or another, have got themselves into a position where it's expected of them now the Champions League. So these are the games that they have to manage and win and achieve outcomes. If Leeds get a point tonight, they've done very well.
Alex, just before you leave us, born and bred in Manchester, and you're a Leeds fan. Explain.
Yeah, I knew this one was going to come up. My dad's side of the family are from Yorkshire. I didn't just randomly pick Leeds, despite having two very successful clubs around the corner.
Right.
But
So
yeah,
Dad was
I'm just blaming my dad.
Quite right. Quite right. Dad was right. And why not support Leeds? Who knows? They might do something tonight. Alex, thank you very much indeed. Visit betmgm.co.uk, download the app. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Danny, we were talking about Chelsea yesterday. Boy, the difference in the second half was alarming, wasn't it? Manchester City go out and absolutely turn them over. So Chelsea at the moment, this morning, sitting 6th on 48 points. Can they keep arguing progress if they fail to land Champions League football again?
And if they win the FA Cup, I suppose.
I think they're not where they want to be. And the fact the fans are fuming with recent results and leaving the stadium early doesn't bode well for anybody. But ultimately, it's the same conversation we keep on having, and they are lacking certain things in that side that allow them to have consistency. They can beat anyone on the day. But if you look at City's second half and the players who were instrumental in that performance, when Rodri and Bernardo Silva started getting on it and dictating and pushing on, and, you know, I think I feel for Liam Rosinha a bit, because he's got the same problems other managers have had, is this extreme levels of performance, you know, beating Barcelona really well and then losing or drawing at home to Leeds or Burnley, whatever it was, and losing heavily to PSG, all these things. The reality is you're not going to get Chelsea up competing to win leagues and Champions Leagues with their philosophy. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So they either change that or they get what they get.
Well, they've got Liam Rosinha, and he post-match yesterday was calling for patience.
When I first came, I never asked for a lot of time, because I understand this club, I understand the traditions and the history of this club. I would like to have that time, and I'm confident that in that time, you can create something very, very special within the time that it takes, which even someone as experienced as Pep or Jurgen Klopp, when he won the titles he did at Liverpool, they had a year to sort things out. I've come in January. And it's not an excuse, it's a reality. I need to win in the now, and that's what I'll be focused on.
He says he didn't ask for a lot of time, Simon, but he got a 6.5-year contract.
He didn't ask he may well have asked in discussions with the ownership. He asked. He didn't put it upon the fans, did he? He didn't say to the fans, "You've got to be patient with me." That's what he's talking about. He's not talking about how he negotiated his contract and what he said internally to move to Strasbourg to manage Chelsea. But you look at Chelsea and you look at it and you say, as much as I like Liam, what do you expect? I mean, really, if you're the ownership, as much as I try to be balanced with ownership, and people think that I've got an alliance with Chelsea, which is just nonsense, just because I don't go down the road of vilifying everybody every time I open my mouth. You know, what did they expect? Liam has not managed a club of this stature. He hasn't managed a club with this level of expectation. Every game is being micro-analysed. Every game, every outcome is being assessed. So if he wins a game, he's on to the next game instantaneously without any ability to be able to assess the thinking behind it.
So what did Bully Igbali expect in Liam?
Well, this is the question. I mean, if you are trying to suggest that you want Chelsea to win things amongst the elite, how do you do that when you put in the here and now? If you're quite comfortable with weathering the brickbats of observations inside the media, weathering your fans' discontent about the amount of time it's going to take you to get to where you want to get to, then fine. But football doesn't tend to work that way. It doesn't tend to work that way. In the end, it becomes about what people's expectations are, irrespective of how strong you are in what you think you're trying to achieve in the future, and whether your policy is to buy young players, really is only to buy young players, and that's because you've got a model. I don't think at any particular time they've come out and said this, but obviously their actions are that they've bought younger players, and there are senior players inside that club that potentially haven't done what they should be doing. You know, the Cucurellas of the world that talk about things, and the Fernandes of the world that talk about things. They are now senior players. Reece James, I think, is a reliable asset, but whether he's fit is the big challenge for him. But the thing for me, without wanting to be condemnatory of Liam, is how you're going to win with Liam Rosinha when in the other dugout you've got Pep Guardiola, and you've got elite managers at big clubs. I always make the big thing about when do you bridge this gap. If you're really looking at bridging the gap, you've got to fight fire with fire. So you fight fire with fire economically.
Yeah.
You match them pound for pound on what you're going to spend. You start buying players that give you a balance inside the side. And the third component part has to be the manager. And with respect to Liam, is he going to be allowed to learn on the job? Because that's what you're asking him to do. You're asking Chelsea and the football orthodoxy to say, not interested in what's happened before. He's going to learn on the job. And in 2 years' time, we will have curated and created a manager that's capable of managing Chelsea the way we want him to manage it, which is in line with our thinking, and win things.
I think, Danny, looking at it,
good luck with that.
Liam Senior needs to get one over Manchester United and Carrick next Saturday night. Manchester United go to Stamford Bridge. He needs a win, Liam.
He does, big time. I still don't know whether that'll turn the tide, because if they don't get Champions League football, the fans are going to be fuming. And it's not even just that. I think it's...
If they win the FA Cup, that will soften.
Yeah, that will soften the blow. So he's got a good chance to finish the season on a high, but they don't look at the moment like a confident side. They can cause you problems because they've got great creativity and pace and dynamism, but defensively they're poor. I mean, they're going to be poor.
Yeah.
They've got a keeper who is not great. They've got a young lad playing at centre half at the minute next to Fofana, who's hardly been a revelation. You know, they missed Fernandes in the middle of the park, which is another conversation. With the big game coming up, why ban him, I suppose. But they've got a young lad playing holding midfield next to Caicedo, who's learning on the job. He's not played many games.
Yeah.
You got a striker who is super talented, but young, inconsistent. Again.
And I think, Danny, when you look at who they've beaten and who they've lost, it's
Yes.
significant.
Yes.
So 11 wins in 21. Amongst them, Port Vale, Wrexham, Paphos, Charlton. They've lost to Manchester City, Everton, PSG twice, Newcastle and Arsenal 3 times.
Exactly. And that's where
the difference.
That's where you judged.
Okay. I'm being judged at the moment for running over slightly. But hey, what do I care? It's that Monday morning feeling coming up to 10 to 12. Yeah, I've run over. And so what?
I mean, who's left there now? Only Alisson, Van Dijk. I think that's probably it, isn't it?
Just on Andy Robertson, do you think he'll stay in the Premier League?
I think he can.
Yeah.
I think he can. I think they're a.
I'd have him at Tottenham. I wish we got
They're
him.
well, you were linked with him in January, weren't you?
Yeah.
You know, and the writing was on. It's not the biggest surprise in the world, is it? That he's leaving.
No, it's not a surprise.
What
but
happened in January?
it made us, think about left backs, right?
Yeah.
You think about the great left backs of the Premier League, and where does he rank?
So when I was outside with Ryan, the producer, and then Ryan said there was a period where he was the best left back in the world, and I went, "What? What you on about? Best left back in the world?" And he said he's best in the top 3 of the Premier League, and I'm like, "No, I'm not sure he is." And then you look at the names that, and you think, you know what? Actually, maybe he is in this conversation.
I think he is. Look, Ashley Cole for me, obviously, yes, he's the greatest.
He's out on his own.
He's out on his own, and then after that, you look at the other left backs. They're at Patrice
Well, in
Evra.
terms of numbers, let me just tell you now, Andy Robertson's Premier League appearances, 373. 13 goals, 69 assists. Now, that is insane for a fullback. Trent's numbers aren't dissimilar from what I can gather.
Yeah.
I haven't got them, but just looking at left backs here. He outstrips, John Anarisa has 30, but he is, the closest to him is Ashley Cole on 31. That's the closest. He's got 69.
Yeah, I think he's in the top 3 greatest Premier League left backs.
Well, yeah, go on. Who's the other one?
You don't buy quality, Danny, because what was that?
I sweat a lot.
Oh, you sweat a lot.
When I profusely sweat, you end up with stains.
I understand what you're saying. Absolutely, it's a problem for all of us.
I'm just being honest.
We're talking about menswear, knitwear, and things like that. Honestly, you should be here. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, and Danny Murphy.
What did you spend yesterday, Jim?
We're live on talkSPORT. I bought myself a top over the weekend, a very posh shop, and I was slightly disappointed in it. Are you on Wednesday?
Yeah.
I'll wear it then, Dan.
Okay, great.
Here's one on a more serious note than the top I bought. Newcastle United, what's going on with them? I've seen quite a number of messages go through from Newcastle fans. They love Eddie, but they're concerned, and why wouldn't they be? Newcastle took the lead at Crystal Palace over the weekend, yesterday, but they lost the game by 2-1. They've now lost 25 points from winning positions this season. How is that happening, Eddie?
Yeah, I mean, those numbers are incredible, really, and it's blighted our season. The fact that we haven't been able to not just sort of consolidate really good passages of the game, but go on and score more goals and continue to attack. I think I've said many times that's not the tactical instruction we give the players. We don't want to go 1-0 up and change to a mentality of defending, but we've done it. So I can't say it hasn't happened. But then if you are going to defend, we have to defend better than we did. And it was a game of few chances, but we still look vulnerable towards the end of the game, and that's hugely disappointing.
That was Eddie. Craig Hope in the mail, Danny. They're soft. Gone is the nastiness and smarts to defend a goal. For Brian Robbie last time out, see Jean-Philippe Mateta this time. They can be bullied. Mentality minnows.
Well, I've talked about this before, and I think it's more obvious to me why they struggle. They play such high-intensity football at the start of games. They go after teams. And it's great to watch, especially when they're at home. They really steamroller teams at times, but you can't play that way for 90 minutes. And when they have to fall back into defensive mode and be more tactical and more concentrated, they struggle. And I think that, I'm a big fan of Eddie, as you know, but I think that's part of it. Their main strength is when they really are physical with teams and they get on the front foot. And that's why they tend to go in leads in games and then lose them. Because as the game gets stretched and drawn out, their defenders haven't been great, centre-halves, really. Only Chow has really done okay. The rest have struggled. There's been a lot of injuries at centre-half. And I think that's probably the main reason I see when I watch Newcastle so often good in first half and more poor in second half.
Yeah.
The other thing is the mentality shift. If it's not physical, you know, why are players dropping in? That's kind of second nature. A lot of the times you do end up protecting what you've got. But the other final thing on it is that when you play 53 games, which I think they've played 53, 54 already this season, the top players are the only ones who can keep rolling out performances, and even they struggle. Champions League, Premier League, Champions League, Premier League. The question really is, are Newcastle's players really top quality who can produce week in, week out? Because they did all right in the Champions League. You know, they did all right. They put in a really good show in the group.
So what's happened to them?
Well, I'm saying that I think the quality of players they're getting and isn't as high as City, Arsenal, Liverpool even, and because you see that relentlessness, maybe not Liverpool this season, but generally City, Arsenal, the big teams, they roll out performances time and time again because they've got the better players. And Newcastle suffer a little bit from players being a little bit up and down more because they don't shop in the same... they don't shop where you shop, Jim. They don't shop in the high-class places for their players. They kind of get the next tier down.
Yeah.
So I think...
Should Eddie be worried, Simon?
It has the feeling of it coming towards the end there. For me.
I think,
yeah, not because I want him to, and not because I think it merits it. I think that what the CEO said the other day was just absurd.
What did he say?
He just said, we're not going to talk about the manager's future at this time. He's the manager at this time, and there was no real support. There was no need to volunteer that kind of information that he said about Eddie Howe. He could have kept it to himself and had no opinion on it whatsoever. But he made I'm paraphrasing inaccurately, but it was more cutting in terms of people being able to read between the lines. You look at them. You take Isak out of their side. They don't score enough goals.
No, it's true.
So all of a sudden, that's gone from the side. Kimi Aries is not fit at the moment in time, so he's not in the side.
Big miss, yeah.
Tonali's going to be sold. What do you do? Answer the question. What do you do if you're Newcastle? You've been in the Champions League. You haven't got a big enough squad to be in the Champions League. And
twice they've been in.
Have a full tilt.
And I know what you're saying about the chief exec, Simon. I don't have a stance on Howe's future.
I mean, what's that? What's that?
That's a strange one.
What kind of observation is that? You don't have a stance on ultimately the most important football decision.
Yeah.
Apart from this season,
You
you
might
could
think that, but don't say it.
Yeah.
Eddie's done more than anyone expected since he's been in there.
That's not me wishing him or suggesting
No,
that he's
nor
going to
me.
get the sack. I don't want that for him. But I think the challenge is that the expectation of Newcastle is beyond the ability. When you've got people turning around consistently saying, we've got a project for 2030, which means we want to win the Premier League by 2030,
Yeah.
and not telling you how anyone's going to do it, your best players come along. All of a sudden, out goes Isak, out goes Tonali, out goes Gimme Ares. The best players will be sold because they can't be kept. But not because the club can't keep them, can't match the wages, because the players themselves want to leave to a bigger club that's ultimately achieving the success now. And that's why I've always said, not because of Eddie Howe, that he'll be a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
And unless there's going to be a change of approach from Newcastle, unless there's going to be a revenue generation model like a stadium that's going to give them the opportunity to bridge the £300 million gap between those and those that have it already and the ones that they're trying to emulate, how are they going to change it?
Well, next up for Newcastle, the very boys who turned over Arsenal, because Bournemouth go up to Newcastle next weekend. We're live in talkSPORT coming up to 12 noon. Fury won at the weekend. What did we all make of that? Frank Warren's on the way.
Morgan Rogers does seem to be doing it week in, week out, largely. 24 goals and 23 assists to his name since the start of last season. And he is expected to be at the centre of a £80 million transfer tug-of-war this summer. Why has this chatter started now? And
Just 80?
I think they want a bit more than that. I was doing some inquiries this morning to see if he's got a release clause in his contract. Doesn't sound like he does. And I think Aston Villa are within their rights to ask for Jack Grealish type money for Morgan Rogers. And I think somebody will pay it. I think he is capable of going on to one of the top clubs in the country. But as Gabs has said, ideally Villa will want to keep him, but we know they're under financial pressure. More to do, I think, with the UEFA financial regulations than the Premier League ones, but it may be that they have to cash in, particularly if they don't make the
It would upset the manager.
June the 30th as well.
It would upset the manager because he's like his son. He's his favourite player. He plays every game. He's the last one to come off. He loves Morgan Rogers. You know, he brought him for £12 million from Middlesbrough, took a gamble on him, and I agree, £100 million.
It's now frustrating, isn't it? Because if you sell Morgan Rogers, you're sort of almost admitting that you're never really going to bridge that gap.
Financial fair play rules. I'll tell you something now, 100%. These owners want to win it all.
Yeah.
They've said that. The manager says he wants to dream. That's what I'm saying. He'll be so frustrated if he has to sell Rodgers because of financial fair play. If these rules were fair and you didn't have to sell a player.
From the Toffees to the Tractor Boys, the Eagles to the Seagulls, Gunners, Bees, Hammers and Magpies, Premier League teams have got a load of crazy nicknames. Ever wondered where they came from? Let's start with Everton. They're dubbed the Toffees, but why? Well, because when the club was formed, just down the road there were two local toffee shops. Ye Ancient Everton Toffee House and Mother Noblet's Toffee Shop were big fan favourites. Next, they say if you can't beat 'em, join 'em, and that's exactly what Ipswich Town did when it came to their nickname. The term Tractor Boys used to be chanted by their opponents as a way of putting the team down for their farming background. But during one game back in the late 90s, Ipswich were 1-0 up and they decided to flip the script. 1-0 to the Tractor Boys, they sang, and a new nickname was born. Let's head to Leicester, famous for more than just a red, well, orangey cheese and Jamie Vardy. Leicestershire's also the birthplace of fox hunting, hence the Foxes. Next up, turns out apples are not the only fruit that don't fall far from the tree. Bournemouth's nickname, the Cherries, comes from the fact the club's stadium was originally built right next to a bunch of cherry orchards. This next story actually involves two club nicknames. It started with Crystal Palace. They were having an absolute nightmare run back in the early 70s. They'd been relegated after a terrible spell, and manager Malcolm Allison decided enough was enough. He wanted a new nickname, something strong, fast and destined for success. Something exactly like an eagle. But there's more to this one. Brighton were in search of a nickname too, and Palace finally gave them what they needed. In a heated match between the two back in 1976, Palace fans began chanting, "Eagles, Eagles," and some clever Brighton fans came up with the perfect reply, "Seagulls, Seagulls." Not all club nicknames have a crazy story though. Take the Gunners. That just comes from the fact a group of munitions workers in the Royal Arsenal factory in Woolwich set up the club in 1886. On the flip side, some nicknames seem simple, but there's a bit more to them, like West Ham. The Hammers is actually nothing to do with the ham part of the name. It comes from the fact the club used to be called Thames Ironworks FC and was made up of workmen and shipbuilders. So next time the away end's chanting their crazy nickname, you'll now know exactly where it came from.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's 4 minutes past 12 noon. It's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, and it's Danny Murphy. And we are live on talkSPORT. No Martin Keown today. Damn it. So many people get in touch saying, where's Keown today? Not that they're not happy that Danny's on. I'm happy that Danny's on. So is Simon.
Thank you,
But of course, Keown, off the back of that Arsenal defeat, might have been somewhat perplexed. He'll be back next Monday. We'll see how he is after that Manchester City experience. We'll see how Danny is later in the week. We'll certainly on Wednesday, the following day.
If Arsenal win next week,
after Liverpool play PSG,
you should probably have Monday off.
We're still to get to that. Liverpool against Paris Saint-Germain. So much riding on that for Slot and for Liverpool. We'll get to that. In the meantime, let's stay on this, because at the weekend, his much heralded return to the ring. Tyson Fury came back after many months away from the ring. Was there any ring rust? Didn't look it. Got in about Arslanbek Makhmudov and won on points with a wide decision with scorecards of 120, 108, 120, 108, 119, 109. I wonder what Tyson's promoter Frank Warren made of all that. Frank joins us live in the show. Frank, good afternoon. What did you make of all that?
Good afternoon, Jim. Jim, can I give us a bit more volume here, please?
Yes, Frank. Let's do that. We'll speak to the powers.
I can't hear you. Just about hear you.
Frank can just about hear us. We'll get Frank back in a second. At the end of the fight, and he did a job on Makhmudov. He didn't put him away, but he won on points. Tyson Fury, along with Mr. Warren alongside him in the ring, had a look at Anthony Joshua sitting ringside. And Fury honed in on Joshua and said, okay, how about it?
Next, I want to give you the fight you've all been waiting for. I want you, AJ, Anthony Joshua. Let's give the fight fans what they want. The Battle of Britain. And here's my challenge. I challenge you, Anthony Joshua, to fight me, the Gypsy King, next. Do you accept my challenge?
Tonight is your night. And you know I'll sit across that ring from you in due time. You ain't going to tell me what to do. I've been chasing you for the last 10 years. When you're ready, you come and see me and tell me your terms and conditions, and I'll have you in the ring when I'm ready. I'm the boss.
I'm the boss.
You work for me. I'm the landlord. Remember that. I'm the landlord. You work for me.
Now, I've got to say, Simon, I thought AJ handled that brilliantly.
Yeah, to a point. I think he's absolutely right to not to allow the whip hand to be Tyson Fury's, because Tyson's all pumped up after being back in the ring and having just won a fight. The flip side of it is I don't think Anthony Joshua is the landlord. I don't think coming after getting ironed out by Daniel Dubois puts you in the box seat. You are both the biggest names in British boxing over the last decade. You both bring value into the ring. It's not a fight that intrigues me the same way that Fabio Wardley versus Daniel Dubois or Ajit Cabiel and all the current ones, or Moses Atoma. This is the past having an opportunity to have a swan song with huge money attached to it because people want to see this particular fight.
Yeah.
But I think Anthony handled himself relatively well. Fury does what Fury does. At times he can be very charismatic, other times he can be very boorish. In this instance, for whatever reason, he felt the need to go into full WWE mode to call out Anthony Joshua. It made intriguing watching for people, I suppose.
We've got Frank back. Frank, good afternoon again. Did you
Good
know?
afternoon to you. Good afternoon, Simon.
Hello, mate.
Thanks for joining us, Frank. Did you know that Tyson, or did it a good idea that Tyson was going to do that and call out Joshua at the end of the fight?
He did. He was asked to do it. His Excellency asked him to do it, and he asked AJ to get into the ring, and AJ wouldn't get into the ring, nor would Eddie. He invited him in, and that was what happened. So then they gave him the mic. He was doing an interview. They said AJ's sitting there, and they gave him the mic. He didn't ask for it, and he did what he signed up for. Tyson has signed up for this fight. He signed up for the fight at Spurs, which he had, and the next fight's supposed to be against AJ in August, September. That's what he signed for. He has signed up for it. AJ, we were led to believe, has also signed up or was about to sign up for the fight, and he hasn't done so.
Well, if he signed it, Frank, if Tyson has signed it, why is he calling him out?
Because AJ hasn't signed it.
Right. So so in some way Tyson was trying to bounce AJ into it.
He wasn't trying to bounce him into it. The deal that was done was based upon, like I just said, but then he had that tragic accident where his friends and a couple of his coaching team lost their lives.
Yeah.
And that's where we are. So really what it's down to, does AJ, one, want to continue fighting? I'm told that he does. Two, does he want to do the fight now, or does he want to go for a fight in between? That's really what it's at. But that's not what Tyson signed up for. Tyson signed up for that fight to take place immediately after this one. So what Tyson signed up for, he wants to deliver on.
I see.
Well, that's what that is clear. What Frank has done is made it clear. What they've signed is an agreement, or what Turkey Al-Sheikh is trying to do is create an outcome where Tyson signed to a set of obligations, and Anthony Joshua signed to another set of obligations financially, because they'll have their own individual deals. It won't be straightforward who's paying for it. They'll negotiate their deals with Turkey Al-Sheikh and do the deal that they want to do. So Tyson really, despite the fact that I don't think he needs to do that, but what we've got as a result of that is absolute clarity. There's no mucking about. Tyson Fury expects to fight Anthony Joshua next. So when we're arguing about, or when people are debating, we're asking Frank, what's Tyson going to do, they now know. And they know where the situation lies, which is up to Anthony Joshua. If he feels he's ready to fight Tyson Fury, then that fight can happen. But he may well not feel that. And I do think that ultimately Anthony, sitting there at ringside, would have known what was coming, would have known there's an expectation for him to have some sort of interaction with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury doesn't just arrive back on the scene and Anthony Joshua sit ringside and doesn't expect to have an interaction.
Well, let's ask Frank that, Simon. Frank, did you expect, and did you and Tyson expect Joshua to flat bat it in the way that he did?
No, I mean, I thought he would. I generally thought when Turkey said get in the ring, in the ring, which we did. That's what I expected AJ and Eddie to get in the ring, but they didn't. I mean, that's their business. It's not my business, but that's where we are. And irrespective of what happens, he hasn't signed up for that fight. That's the position. And until he does, it's pointless talking about it. Tyson's ready to go. He's there, ready, willing, able. He's not going to sit around forever, but he's there, and he wants to do the fight. And that's where we're at.
I see. I mean, to an extent, Simon, I don't know, Frank, if you want to come in on this as well. The plan that was hatched, Turkey Al-Sheikh's been left with a bit of egg in his face, has he not?
Well, circumstances, events have overtaken circumstances. Tyson has done this before in terms of being prepared to fight Anthony Joshua on very short notice when it suited Tyson Fury and not necessarily Anthony Joshua. In this instance, Tyson is not doing anything particularly wrong. The circumstances before the fight, Tyson said he's not ready to fight yet. He's had a terrible tragedy in his life. He needs to be left alone. As a result of Turki Al-Sheikh putting some downward pressure probably on Tyson, albeit curiously, Tyson is his own man, does his own thing. Tyson then called out Anthony Joshua. So it's not Tyson's fault that this tragedy's happened in Anthony Joshua's life.
Of course not.
Probably it's not the right fight for Anthony Joshua to take. He hasn't fought. Tyson's had a decent warm-up. He had a warm-up against Makhmudov. Whatever we think of that fight, he fought against credible opposition. Anthony Joshua got ironed out by Daniel Dubois, and his next fight was against Jake Paul. He is in no real condition really to go in against whatever Tyson Fury is. He's still amongst the best heavyweights in the world.
So Frank, can I ask you, are you any more or less confident that Fury Joshua is going to happen?
Well, if AJ doesn't sign up to fight Tyson and goes another direction, I don't think anybody will give a monkeys about it, unless he fights somebody like maybe he wants to fight a Moses. Moses, if he wants that fight, he can have that in a heartbeat. If he wants to fight the winner of Fabio and Daniel, he can have those fights. But the fight everybody wants to see is him, and that's the only one I believe they're interested in at the moment, is him against Tyson. The rest doesn't matter.
But you would concede, Frank. You would concede, though, and I hear that, and I'm concurring with you. I'm not arguing against you. You would concede that Anthony Joshua would want to win that fight. And in order to win that fight, he'd want to be in a position where he's in his best nick, in the same way that Tyson wouldn't come back after not having fought for 18 months and go straight in against Anthony Joshua. He's had a warm-up against Makhmudov.
Yeah, I mean, they both had fights. I mean, his fight was against Jake Paul.
Exactly.
But that was it. But sorry, that was his choice.
That was his choice, yeah.
That was his choice.
Yeah, fair enough.
There you go. That was his choice. No, he could have fought Makhmudov. Tyson could have had an easier fight as far as, Makhmudov's a big old lump. He's a tough son. No one would have complained if we'd gone for an easier fight, but he decided to go for that because that's what happened. But the fact of the matter is, at this stage of their lives, they should just stop, just get on with it and get it done. If AJ's in mentally right to do the fight, if not, forget about it and we'll move on.
Yeah. How'd you look back on it on Saturday night, Frank? The show in general, Fury's performance?
I was in the dressing room with Tyson most of the night, but the fight, Tyson's fight, I thought he did what he had to do. He got a lot of rust. It took him a few rounds to get himself going. Once he was throwing that uppercut and getting his jab going and his distance going, he was pretty comfortable, wasn't he, against a guy, who is dangerous. He can punch, but he'd done what he had to do, and he got the rounds under his belt, got the rust out of his system, and he's good to go, as he said himself, for September. The rest of the card, I watched the Ben fight on the TV screen in the dressing room, and I just, like I said, I don't know I don't know where all these big numbers come for what I see.
What did you think, Simon?
Oh, I agree. I mean, I don't think we learned anything about Tyson. I think I expected Tyson to be at a level that was a version of Tyson Fury. So against Makhmudov, who was limited, comes with a reputation that had been cut down by Ajit Kabiel 18 months previously. So we knew what he was. We saw him in against Dave Allen. And what we haven't had answered yet about Tyson is when he steps in and against, I know Frank might disagree, when he steps in and against elite heavyweight, how much of Tyson has been lost over the Deontay Wilder trilogy, how much of Tyson Fury has been lost in the Usyk trilogy, the Usyk 2 fights. We know that Fury at 60, 70, 80% will beat most heavyweights. But when he fights against not most heavyweights, he fights against the best, then we'll see. But then we also know with Anthony Joshua, if all roads lead to Joshua, that's not about heavyweights. That's not about world titles. That's about money.
Yeah.
That's all that's about. And if that's what people want to go and watch, that's fine. I'm more interested in what's happening with Moses Atoma. I'm more interested in what's happening with Fabio Wardley and Daniel Dubois and Ajit Kabiel, because I think they're the future and the way that heavyweight boxing is going, not where it's been.
And I think Frank's back in his office and he's certainly more interested in thinking, are Arsenal going to win this title? Are they, Frank?
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, I was there Saturday and I was so disappointed. I mean, it was just dreadful. They weren't at the races at all. I think I sent you a thing yesterday, Simon,
you did.
Saying it looks like the only result.
Max Down was GCSEs,
with our man winning with young Max past his GCEs. We've got to knuckle down. We've got a tough fight on. Sorry, tough. Well, it is a tough fight. We've got a tough match and a fight on Wednesday night.
Sporting,
They've got to get a winning mentality. They haven't got a winning mentality. Lost 3 out of their last 4, and they're probably their 3 most important matches, and they've lost them. And this weekend we've got a big big one.
Yeah.
So
absolutely,
they got to show up.
Listen, how long are you going to hang around for Joshua's answer as to whether or not he fights Tyson?
How long?
Yeah.
That's going to be Tyson's decision, not mine, but he wants to fight in September, so it's going to happen fairly soon. So fingers crossed we get it over the line. Everybody wants it, you know. His Excellency's putting up the money, so there's no reason for the fight not to happen. In the meantime, though, as Simon says, the heavyweight division's flying.
It is.
You know, we've got Tony Yoka against Lawrence Okoli, Brit, in Paris on the 25th of April. 9th, Fabio against Daniel at the Co-op League Arena in Manchester. That's a great fight. We've got Dave Allen against Hergovich on the 16th of May. Moses is fighting in July. We're announcing a couple other heavyweight fights. So the heavyweight division is lively. They're all the top guys are fighting, which is good.
That's good. Frank, thank you. It is lively. And British heavyweight champion Richard Rato had a great night on Saturday night because he stopped Jamie TKV. And Richard's in studio with us next.
How does he go about saving Spurs? Because we were talking about this on the Premier League All Access podcast. He's a pure football man. He wants to play a certain way, but the time it takes to get that injected into the player's veins is not long enough for the time that he's had in terms of being on the training ground. So does he have to be a little bit more simple in his approach? Does he have to work with the resources he's got?
Yeah.
And what are those?
What has he had? He's probably had nearly 10 days maybe before the game kicks off. He can't have that hard approach, I don't think, at this stage. That's got to be something in the summer, and you work out who's with you, who's not. At the moment, he's got to work out what formation he's going to play, who's going to be his best players. And you look at the midfielders available, rim down, Sam, like Bergvall, Gallagher, Paulinho, Sarr, Gray. Out of those centre midfielders, who do you choose out of them?
Well, it's great to have Bergvall back for a start, and it's great to have a choice because one of the problems they've had over the season is they haven't been able to have a choice because there's been so many injuries.
But even going forward, Tell, Simmons.
Kudos has picked up a setback, hasn't he?
Exactly. Mwani, Solanke, Richarlison. He's got to work out which of these players is going to get the goals that they need. Van der Ven, second top goal scorer. Richarlison's got 9. Then Van der Ven and Romero have got 4. And I think Tell's got 3. It's not good enough. It's really not good enough. Someone's got to step up in that team.
It's been an act of self-harm, hasn't it, over the course of the season from Tottenham Hotspur, going back to not getting the recruitment right in the summer, appointing the wrong managers at the wrong time, and ranking bottom for errors leading to goals in the Premier League this season.
Thanks to Frank Warren for joining us live. Certainly, it sounds like the ball is in Anthony Joshua's court as to whether or not he takes up the offer to fight Tyson Fury after Fury went so public with that following his win on Saturday night at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. He wasn't the only one who won. Richard Rato, British heavyweight champion. Richard stopped Jamie TKB in the 5th round to claim the British heavyweight title. And now, like Fury, what's next for Fury? Is it AJ? What's next for Richard? Let's find out. Richard, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
How was it for you?
It was great. It was amazing. We got the victory. That was the most important thing. My team were happy. My family was happy. And yeah, it's just like on to the next one. We don't like to dwell on the wins no more because, you know, debt is needed every day. You know, we need to continue putting in work.
Yeah. Well, you certainly, it was more than a workout. And I would have thought Jamie TKV would have felt a bit of pain on Sunday morning, Simon.
Too much power. Richard had too much power. I mean, the question for him was cruiserweight. I was disappointed with him at Selhurst Park, and he'll be disappointed with himself against Chris William-Smith because that was his opportunity. But I just asked him in the break about being more comfortable at heavyweight. This is an opportunity for him now. The power, I mean, Jamie TKB is always sort of brought into the studio and told he's the underdog. He was the underdog in every fight that he's been in. And in this fight, I wanted to give him a little bit more currency and say possibly he had too much power. He had from the first jab, he had too much power.
How has the transition been then, Richard, from cruiserweight to heavyweight?
It's, you know, it's a bit interesting because you're putting on muscle mass, but then the muscle needs to be functional. You can't just like lift weights. So you have to kind of naturally kind of grow into it. That's why I've seen a lot of smaller weight guys, they try to go to the bigger weights, but they gas out after a while because they don't have the correct type of muscle to fight. You know, you need fighting muscles, but thankfully for me, I'm a naturally big guy. I was actually naturally a heavyweight coming down to fight a cruiserweight. So it was all natural for me, you know, just eating a bit more. I'm sparring bigger guys as well, which is good, but I also like to spar in the smaller guys. I like to spar a lot of cruiserweights, like Pat Brown as well. Amazing fighter, by the way. And it's been great for me. Like everybody said, they say the same thing over and over again. You look great. You look amazing at heavyweight. You know, so it must be good.
And you feel great. You know, obviously, the big question is, what's next? Who's next?
We're gonna see. It's early, isn't it? It's early, but I've already been vocal about who I want. I want a world title shot. You know, I told after the fight, I said, look, I want the winner for Daniel Dubois and Woodley. I know it's political, but let's see what happens. And I'm just putting what I want out there and letting people know that I'm very serious about doing real damage to this division this year.
How do you mean it's political?
Boxing. But I think, you know, when you're on the right team, things can happen, you know.
Which sanctioning body are you targeting in on? Which one do you think presents the best opportunity to create the fights that you want?
I think IBF, you know, I'm really good with IBF as well. Right. WBO, that would be nice, you know. That belt there, I think boxing is more interesting when the domestic fights are happening, especially when there's a world title fight on the line. Yeah. Everybody's just locked in. It's a different vibe, you know?
Well, it's true. A lot of people are talking about Wardley Dubois. And of course, that's no British affair. You want the winner of that.
Yeah. I would love that.
I think we'd all love that, Simon.
I'd love that. Everybody. People, like, even when I fought Tommy Walsh, people were even interviewing me and saying, yeah, I want to see you versus Dubois. And I was like, that's interesting. Like, I just fought Tommy Walsh. Tommy Walsh is not experienced like that. You know, we know what Tommy Walsh was, but we had a job to do. We got the job done in that fashion. But, you know, now people are like, okay, this is a real contender now because they didn't expect me to do it like that. And to be honest, if I got it proper, I would have probably won earlier. You know, that's the reality. So they know what type of fighter they're dealing with. Somebody that come up to heavyweight, but is actually physically stronger than most heavyweights.
Be interesting to see. I mean, I have a lot of affection for Richard, as he knows, and obviously he's also a big Crystal Palace fan, so we have something in.
Yes, we noticed the embrace. Danny and I watched the two of you embrace.
I like him a lot.
It's quite moving.
Be interesting to see him. I mean, obviously, I wanted to see him fight a Coley. Yeah. It could have happened to the cruiserweights. They were rolling around in a cinema a few years ago, and that didn't happen. They're both in the heavyweights now. Obviously, Lawrence is fighting against Tony Yoka on the following weekend, which is an interesting fight. I would like to. I don't think he's going to get a world title shot just yet. He might as well call for them and ask and see what he can get. I'd like to see him in against someone like a David Adelaide. I think that would be an interesting fight because David can whack. And I think that would be an interesting incremental step, because with due respect to Richard, whilst he's got the power, he's also got to have the ability to overcome some of these elite heavyweights. I don't want to see him in against Moses Atoma, not because everyone should be fearful of Moses Atoma, but I think they're going to go to different directions. I'd quite like to see him in against someone like David Adelaide.
But he wants the big ones now. You want you want a world title shot now, Richard.
Now, of course.
What's your rank? Where are you ranked?
The last time I checked, I was like 9th in the IBF. I'm sure probably I'll improve after this fight as well.
And with the greatest respect, the clock's ticking. What are you, 36?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's no surprise, Simon, that Richard said, now, bring it on now.
Absolutely, but he's not going to get a mandatory shot, so it's going to have to be a voluntary. So by making noise, he's going to get someone to call out a voluntary to fight him, and that may well be the case. For me, as he grows into his heavyweight skin, I'd like to see him have one more or maybe a couple more fights, do to them what he's done to Jamie TKV. It's a nice step to take to win the British title. It's a nice belt. Everyone wants those sort of belts as part of their armoury. He's been at world level at cruiserweights, so he obviously wants to be at world level at heavyweights. I just think there's a couple more steps he can take before he gets in, because he doesn't want to go into a world title fight. He wants to go into a world title fight and win a world title.
Yeah.
Right?
What do you think of the heavyweight division, Richard, at the moment?
What do I think about it?
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting. I think it's always changing. The landscape is changing every day. Things are changing. Usyk can make an announcement now and just drop all the belts. Then everybody's going to be talking like who's going to be the next champion? Who do we want to see the matchups against? To these vacant titles. So I'm just happy. I'm right there. Like, I'm in the mix now. And I think that was very important. That fight on Saturday, it was very important just to let people know, like, look, I'm there. But it was not just about winning though.
Yeah.
For me, it's never just about winning. I have to look good.
Yeah.
I have to look good.
Or even a Justice Hooney. I mean, that's another interesting fight, because Dustin Hooney is a technician, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes against a technician, because he hits hard, but he's got to be able to hit the person, and Justice Hooney is not easy to hit.
Yeah. What do you make of Fury on Saturday night, Richard?
I didn't watch Fury's fight, the entire fight, but I did see some clips of him on social media, and he's skillful. He's very skillful. He knows what he's doing in there on the inside. I saw some analysts break down certain things that he was doing on the inside. Like, he's really skillful.
Did you think AJ was right not to commit when Fury said, "I want you next"?
I understand there's a business side, but you have to be careful the way you come across when you answer these type of questions. If someone's calling you out, you need to answer it in a certain type of way. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll take the fight, but the terms and conditions have to be right, simple, and then you do what you. But I don't know, the feedback that I've heard and that I've read is like he wasn't really interested. Maybe he's still going through something.
No, he did precisely what you said. What Anthony Joshua said was, "You don't get to tell me what to do."
Oh, nice.
I'm the A side of this conversation. He used the terminology, "I'm the landlord." You will, we've had this before. I've been chasing you for 10 years, mate. So
that's true, by the way.
Don't come and give me the big one.
You know what? That's true. Like, I was in, me and Joshua, we had the same coach once upon a time, Angel Fernandez. And Joshua was actually training for Tyson Fury. He was actually training for Tyson Fury once upon a time.
Way back then.
And he kept it. You see, Joshua is humble. He doesn't talk too much. He doesn't want to go and do the banter. And certain people have a perception about him, but he's a proper fighter. Like, he was actually training for Tyson Fury in the gym. There's different sparring partners that he's working with and practicing. And then it just fell through somehow. It fell through. And he thought, you know what, this guy ain't serious. That's why he just started looking elsewhere. But now it seems more realistic because the right people are boxing and they're putting the money up.
Richard, well done again with the victory on Saturday night. One before you go, you're going to miss Oliver Glasner.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure.
Big Palace fan Richard Rato. How are you feeling about it? You're going to go over that when he departs.
You know what? I knew the trophy, can't you? You can still win the.
Look, he's going to go down in history. He came and he got the FA Cup. Simple. That's job done. Yeah. Perfect. It's perfect for him. He doesn't need to even stay any longer. But I'm going to definitely miss him, man. He's a very nice guy as well. Met him in person. Had a good conversations with him, and I wish him all the best in his future endeavours.
And when do we see you back out again?
ASAP. I just finished doing a morning run. I haven't got a scratch on my face. Like, I'm ready to go. I'm live.
I didn't see you out there in the run this morning, and I must have missed you.
Probably missed me. Yeah,
it's an early start for Richard myself. Richard, well done again, mate. Terrific job. Brilliant stuff.
Thank you.
Richard Rato with us live on talkSPORT this lunchtime with Selco, where the trade goes.
managers can be petulant, players can be petulant, just like owners can be.
De Zerbi was. I mean, you know, you can say De Zerbi, and he's walked into the Tottenham job. You know, like.
Would you take him? Would you take him at Chelsea?
Right here, right now.
Why are you hesitating?
Well, because that's just it's a rhetorical question.
I know, but
would you take him at Spurs?
Yeah, I would have, but we got De Zerbi.
I know, but you're facing relegation.
You got Rossini as the manager.
That's not the question.
Okay, what's the question? Is would you take him at Chelsea?
No.
Why?
Well, that doesn't give you a reason, right? No.
What do you mean? I want a reason.
Because he's petulant.
No, that's not a reason.
Well, it is.
You've had loads of petulant managers.
I know, but
you've had hundreds of them.
They get sacked.
Okay, but that's absolute garbage. Don't tell me you wouldn't take Glasner over Rossini.
No, I wouldn't.
Oh, mate.
No.
What are you on about?
You're throwing your pen down.
What are you on about?
You're like a petulant
No,
child.
I know, but you're just an idiot. Like, I know you got like a little Chelsea gig. I know you got your little Chelsea gig going on over there.
I don't get me own way.
No,
so I'm throwing my pen down. How childish are you?
No, that is absolute guff.
Throw that.
No, it's absolute guff. Right. You're talking absolute garbage. Don't talk garbage. Glasner is a million times better manager than Rossini. Okay. Don't sit here and say you wouldn't have him at Chelsea.
No, not having at Chelsea.
Oh,
he's too petulant.
Oh,
no, you wouldn't. Can you imagine him? Can you imagine him with the owners? He's just fallen out with Steve Parish. What's going to go on with Todd Bowley? Him and Todd Bowley.
You're an absolute nugget.
No,
well,
if you don't like the question, don't ask.
Stupid pills.
Don't ask the. If you don't like the answer, don't ask the question.
There's a lot of talk about the independent football regulator. Some people love the sound of it, others don't. But what actually is it? And is it going to be any good for the game? In simple terms, it'll be an organisation not controlled by the Premier League, the EFL or the government, which will make sure all clubs are financially stable and don't rip off the fans. The aim is to make sure what happened to Bury, Derby and Reading doesn't happen again. Now, a significant reason clubs go under is because of dodgy owners financially mismanaging the club, but in theory, these should be a thing of the past with the new regulator. They'll be able to use data from the National Crime Agency to perform stronger fit and proper persons tests and can even force owners to give up their stake in a club, which for certain supporters might be a welcome relief. It's likely good news for the EFL. The tension between them and the Premier League over a fair financial deal has been increasing in recent years. As it stands, talks have broken down. The Premier League backed out of recent negotiations, but the regulator will have the power to force through a deal, meaning more money for clubs lower down the pyramid. Now, this might sound simple, but in reality there's concerns this will open a legal can of worms, which could result in messy court cases involving the Premier League and the regulator. Now, that might all sound great, but do we really need it? Some say the downfall of Reading and Bury is an exception, not the rule. So as a whole, the most successful footballing pyramid in world football doesn't need regulation. They say it scares investors who can help grow the game. If those investors go elsewhere, well, the Premier League may no longer be the destination for the best players in the world.
Just gone 12:30 this Monday lunchtime is Jim White, Simon Jordan, Danny Murphy. Want to focus on the Championship, more specifically want to focus on a developing story this lunchtime regards West Bromwich Albion. And the man who's going to do that with us is Alex Crook. Alex, good afternoon. What can you tell us?
Yeah, good afternoon, guys. Not good news as far as West Bromwich Albion are concerned. Obviously fighting for survival down at the bottom of the Championship. And we heard this morning they've been charged for an alleged breach of the Football League profit and sustainability rules. Details are sketchy at this stage in terms of how big that breach is, but potential penalties include a transfer embargo, a fine, or in the worst case scenario for West Brom, a potential points deduction. They're 20th in the table as we sit here now, 2 points ahead of Oxford, who currently occupy the last of the relegation places, a point ahead of Portsmouth, who have a game in hand at home to Ipswich this midweek. And I've been in contact with sources close to the Football League this morning. They're not commenting officially, but under their guidelines, any sanction should take place the season after the season of the breach. Now, this breach relates to last season's accounts, so if there is to be a points penalty under EFL guidelines, it would be imposed this season, which could obviously have a big say in the relegation battle. There are only 4 games left for West Brom. They have 14 days to respond to this charge. Should they appeal, it could well drag on beyond the end of the season. But obviously, if you're Portsmouth, Oxford, even Leicester, second from bottom, you're going to want this points penalty imposed as quickly as possible.
This is a sharp intake of breath for everybody at West Brom this lunchtime, Simon, isn't it?
It can't be, really, can it? I mean, if you look at their accounts, I mean, if you look at last year, they lost 33 million quid in 2024. They lost 19 million quid in 2025. I don't know what they lost in 22-23, but there will be allowable adjustments because some of it will fall outside of the restrictions put up on profit and sustainability. But they will have known. This is not a surprise to West Bromwich Albion. The fact that their accounts have only just recently been filed will be the reasons why it's taking the time to get to the point it's at. But West Brom will know what the situation is and will have known they're going to breach profit and sustainability. What is it? It's 38 million quid over 3 years. You're allowed 38 million quid over 3 years worth of losses. Looking at their accounts for the last 2 years, they've lost 52 million. Now, I'm assuming they would have lost some money in 22-23. Then you'll take off the allowable adjustments that don't form part of profit sustainability governance. You're either inside 38 million quid or you ain't.
Right. So how much trouble could they be in? If it comes to points deduction...
Well, they're in trouble, then, aren't they? If they've got into the bottom 3, won't they?
Yeah.
If there's a points deduction, and that will benefit predominantly Oxford United.
Yeah, who are in 44 points. Leicester below them, Alex, as you say, in 41. Sheffield Wednesday, with all due respect, sadly we can forget about in this argument. They're already
Look at the state of these clubs. I mean, West Bromwich Albion. I mean, a few years ago, Jeremy Peace, very successful businessman, didn't always agree with Jeremy, and we spent a lot of time in one another's company because we were in Football League meetings and in the Premier League together. And he ran a club that was very well run. And post that, West Brom, and look at that, put Ryan Mason in situ. They find themselves at the bottom end of the table, and now they're looking at something. You've got 2 teams that were Premier League sides that potentially now are going to be in League One. Leicester City, the Premier League champions, and West Bromwich Albion, who've been up and down in the Premier League and more often in the Premier League over the last 20 years.
The thing of it is, Alex, if it's not a points deduction, then some of the others in and around that relegation area, like Oxford, Leicester, and above them, even Blackburn, Charlton, they might have something to say about that.
Well, particularly Leicester City, I would imagine, having already been hit with their own points deduction, that primarily is the reason they find themselves in the bottom 3 and in no form at all. And the irony here is that actually West Bromwich Albion, since they changed managers for the second time this season, they have found a little bit of form. They have given themselves hope of potentially staging a relegation great escape, but this would be a real kick in the teeth. According to our colleagues at The Telegraph, their losses since July 2022 are around the £55 million mark, and as Simon has said, the maximum you're allowed to lose under PSR rules in that accounting period is 39 million. So despite the fact sources at West Brom are describing this as a minor breach, that sounds like quite a significant one to me.
No, it doesn't, Alex, because that's the accounts, the full accounts. You're allowed to take off certain aspects of that don't get included. So if you've lost money in the academy, you can strip those costs out. So just because you're booking 55 million worth of losses doesn't mean that that's going to form the full part of the profit and sustainability. There's probably another 10 million worth of allowables in there. So they might find themselves in a situation, Alex, where they've only lost 42 million. And there's a 10% variant. With Leicester were recidivists. Leicester danced the dance of the 7 veils around everybody, around the Premier League, around the EFL, and they did it on 2 or 3 occasions, and their luck ran out.
That means repeat offender, Jim.
Recidivist, yes.
Yeah, recidivist. I was too busy dancing the dance of the 7 veils. They're flirting with it. I mean, we know that, Alex, this lunchtime. I mean, they're flirting with the threat of a points deduction. Of that, there is no doubt.
Absolutely, and I'm sure that those clubs around them, as you say, will be pushing for that points deduction. But I think there's a bigger picture here in terms of the amount of money that clubs in the Championship are losing year on year. And you look at the size of some of the clubs who are likely to find themselves in the 3rd tier next season. I mentioned it to you before, Leicester could be relegated on the final day of the season, 10 years to the day since they were Premier League champions. They've won the FA Cup since then. Portsmouth themselves, FA Cup winners under Harry Redknapp back in 2008. West Bromwich Albion were actually semi-finalists that year. Blackburn Rovers, former Premier League champions, just above the dotted lines. There are some huge clubs in the Championship struggling to make inroads, struggling financially. And I guess this is why clubs in the EFL, Rick Parry, chairman of the EFL, are pushing for the Premier League to redistribute wealth to ensure that these clubs are not losing money hand over fist.
Alex, thanks very much indeed. So the news there, West Brom allegedly breaching the EFL's profit and sustainability rules for last season and face the threat of a points deduction. We'll watch it closely. Coming up to 1:45.
Eddie Howe deserves to keep his job definitely in the summer, rebuild his squad of players, probably no European football next season, but you have to be honest and say the Premier League season hasn't been good enough at Newcastle standards. That's fine.
But is that because of the fact that they haven't got a deep enough squad?
Of course, they haven't got a deep enough squad, but the players that they've had available, they shouldn't be behind Sunderland in the league.
But aren't we back to the same discussion that we had when we were talking about Aston Villa? And that is that they have owners that are wealthy, probably wealthier than everybody else, but yet they're unable to spend because of the financial restrictions. And as a result, that's keeping them further down the pecking order.
Who do you think?
Because you look at their last few seasons, Champions League, qualification, then out.
Yep.
Great season getting to the winning the cup competition, getting to the Champions League, and then out. So what's next season? Another great season, and then the following season not being able to sustain it?
The problem they've got...
It's up and down, up and down, up and down. Because
the problem they've got as well is, do they have to sacrifice a player as well? Like Aston Villa have? Is that Tonali? Is that Gamira's? Which one is it that they have to sacrifice?
Tonali will go in the summer.
What sort of figures are you thinking for him?
80.
And where will he go?
Manchester.
Ooh.
Which one?
Take your pick.
But the interesting thing there
think he'll end up at City or United.
Is that Elliot Anderson is a target, isn't he, for Manchester United? But you're not going to
target for both
of those in, are you?
Well,
one will go one club and the other one will go the other.
Well, I think
It's competition time now, and it's a big one. We have 2 tickets for the Wimbledon Lawn Tennis Championships on Monday, July the 6th, up for grabs. You'll be watching the world's best from the official Wimbledon debenture seats on centre court Are they posh seats, Simon? You'll have sat in them.
Very nice.
Yeah. You'll also have exclusive debenture lounge access throughout the day. This doesn't include you, Danny. The perfect place to soak up the atmosphere between matches. For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. The number to call is 0343 418 7260. Lines closed Thursday at 4. That's when you need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. It's a network promotion. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com. Your chance to win, text WIN to 83338 right now. Danny, if you were to win, would you take me?
No, I would give the tickets away.
You'd give the tickets away?
Yeah, rather than take you.
In a hands across the sea gesture, which is a lovely thing to hear, Danny.
Did you go to Brazil?
And somehow that doesn't surprise me.
No, I like Wimbledon. I do. I love the Wimbledon tournament, but I'd rather watch it at home on the telly than go there and be around too many people.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Crowds of people bother me.
Right. Okay. I didn't realise that. Okay, Danny. All right. I'll wait for your call then, as and when you win the tickets. Have you sat in those posh seats, debenture seats?
Yes.
All right. Very posh.
Nice. Good for you.
Are you not introduced yet? Are you not at the status of being introduced in the big royal box?
Why?
Sir Cliff
where
Richard,
they stand up.
Simon Jordan.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure they'll be.
Because on the day you get that, I'd like to go with you.
Oh, really?
And we could both get White and Jordan. They'll go, what? Danny, it's a big week, is it not? They're all big weeks at the moment for those at the top. But for Liverpool, it's a very big week. They averted a recent slide with a 2-0. How confident, I'm going to put you right in it. How confident can you be? And I know what your heart says. What's your head telling you?
No, there's no confidence at all after that first game. They got absolutely battered.
No confidence at all?
Well, I mean, if you go off history, you always believe that Anfield can create this atmosphere that elevates players' performances. We've seen it time and time again. I've been involved in them. The reality is that at the moment, this team looks short on confidence, on energy. And if you go after PSG really hard, which they're going to have to do, they tear you apart. They've got some wonderful players. I think the big thing is the level of performance and being in the game and actually showing some fight and some grit and some determination. That's the fans will get behind.
They'll show that, won't they?
Well, yes, I think initially.
Get pumped.
Maybe.
Well, that's a worry, isn't it?
I think there's a few selection headaches he's got. I think the Rio Angamoa decision now is going to be big. Fans are desperate to see him every time he plays or comes on. I know he's 70.
Do you think the die is cast for Slot?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I've said it before. It is. There is mitigating circumstances, and it's not only down to him, but the reality is when the majority of Liverpool fans are on the same page, I've never known a Liverpool manager get it back from that.
Did you hear him last week? What did you make of his... After the game, he was almost... in
survival mode.
Survival mode, but almost in a PSG Appreciation Society. Almost talking about PSG and talking about the two wing-backs that are bombing on, like sprinters that no one could keep up with. And he also made sort of insinuations about if you don't work hard on a football pitch, you don't track back, you're going to get ripped to pieces by teams like Man City and PSG, which is obviously a pointed observation about certain people.
I think the more worrying part of his conversation was when he was referring to Liverpool as Liverpool rather than we.
That's the point I noticed. I told you last week about disassociation.
That's changed.
Yeah, language changed. It's almost as if it's talking about it in the third person.
Them and me over here, and that says a lot. I mean, I do feel for him. I do feel for him because normally, if you win a league, even if you have a bad season after, you'd get the great. It's the level of performance I think that's really disgruntling the fans. I think if they go out on their shield, that's all you can ask. I can't see them overturning too. Because if you go after PSG, you're going to concede.
Yeah. It struck me as odd, Danny, off the back of Salah announcing that's it, goodbye at the end of the season, that Andy would announce his departure as well. Andy Robertson leaving Liverpool at the end of the season when his contract expires in the summer. What again? Why now?
I don't know is the answer. It doesn't bother me.
Why not wait until the last ball is kicked this season?
Well, because he deserves a send-off. And if it means,
I get that.
If he has to bring it up to get one, well, so be it. He can share the last day with Salah. They can come out and get the send-off together. He deserves it. If anyone deserves it, it's him. He's in the conversation.
I'm not denying that he is, but...
No, but if he doesn't say anything, he's too humble. He won't get what he deserves. So why? And he's probably asked the question constantly. And he's sick of being asked the question. So he's come out and said his bit. And then the reality is, he is somebody who epitomises the success Liverpool have had. You know, that what he does is he shows on the pitch that level of, he's got quality, we know that, super player. But that determination, that tenacity, you know, someone who's appreciative of the position he's in because of where he's come from. When I say where he's come from, I don't mean the area, I mean the teams he's played for in the lower leagues. And he's fought his way up to have the privilege to play for Liverpool. He'll be talked about in years gone by as one of Liverpool's greatest ever left-backs. That's the biggest compliment. And you know there's been some good ones. Some real big names who've played the left-back. Alan Kennedy, probably the most famous one with the goals. But he is somebody who deserves what he's going to get, which is a wonderful... I actually still think he's been underused. Kirkes hasn't deserved to play the bigger games ahead of him.
No,
he hasn't.
Are you surprised what Andy said? It's not like I've knocked back a contract or anything. There was no contract in the table.
Well, that's because they're moving forward, and I would have given him a contract, and I would have been using Kirkes as his understudy, not the other way round.
It's going to be some summer of change, isn't it, for Liverpool?
Again, yeah, massive. It's. Do
you think Slot might be part of that summer of change?
No chance. Honestly, I don't say that lightly, but the amount of Liverpool supporters I know are on the same page. The hierarchy aren't daft. They're not stupid. Finishing 5th for Liverpool, I'm sorry, that's not acceptable. Irrelevant of the mitigating circumstances.
It might get you Champions League.
Well, it will, and financially that's good, but where they're at is nowhere near. They're nowhere near it. They're only going to probably only get 5th because of other teams failing below them.
How many times did you play for Liverpool? You got a rough ballpark figure.
240, 250.
240, 250. So you must have the absolute utmost admiration for Andy. 373 appearances for the club. He came for 8 million from Hull.
Yeah, but the respect comes from not only his longevity, it's the level of his performance during that period. His numbers are phenomenal, and he's been. I think he's been underrated. I don't think he's ever, in all the success Liverpool have had. Yes, there's times where he's had some plaudits, but it's more been Trent.
Yeah,
you know, the front three under Klopp, all that's the Henderson, the captain, fantastic. Robbo's gone under, and there's the other thing as well. Last thing on him. It's no coincidence Virgil hasn't been himself because he hasn't had Robbo next to him. That's definitely a factor.
So, heart says Liverpool, PSG.
No, my heart doesn't even. They're not. PSG are here.
You've given up in them because PSG are PSG.
I'd be amazed if they turned it around. Absolutely gobsmacked.
Hope they can though.
So of course,
they can, obviously. Hope they can. Danny, brilliant. Thanking you.
Pleasure.
Not as defensive about Arsenal as maybe someone else might have been in that seat today. Simon, brilliant. I shall see you tomorrow. And of course, before I go, I met you yesterday at Wembley, Luton Stockport in the Virtue Trophy final. We had a lovely conversation. Billy Montgomery, chaplain of Stockport County. It was great meeting you. Thanks again for the chat. And you're a fan of Simon's, apparently. Next time we meet, Billy, I'll put you right on that. It's 1 o'clock.
Robertson at Liverpool, L on the show, but here's a reminder what Robertson achieved in his career. He'll leave Anfield after 9 years. 9 years, brilliant. Over 375 appearances and having won every trophy available. What about that for a career, Ray? Did you win every one?
What's that, Al? What listening?
Robbo won 375 appearances.
Did he?
For Liverpool. And he's won every trophy available.
I didn't win the Champions League. That's the only one we was missing for us. We won the League Cup. I won the League Cup, FA Cup, Premier League, Cup Winners' Cup, I think it was, UEFA Cup. Cup Winners' Cup. Was
And he came with Maguire, didn't he, from Hull?
Who's another great player who's playing tonight? Who come from Hull? You get that? He's playing tonight. Yeah, that's a clue for you. Another great signing.
Of course.
Bowen. He come from Hull City.
Of course he did.
All the fantastic players who play for Hull. Who did I play for? Hull City.
I love the. Do you know the way he strikes the ball? He's hardly any backlift. But he is. He's deadly.
I can see Robertson going Celtic, though, can you?
Yes. Yes, I think so.
Obviously, Tierney's still there as well, isn't he?
Tierney's had a great career. But I think the injuries caught up with him a little bit.
Yeah, great.
But he still gives his 100%. And Andy